Welcome to Azure Infinitum Podcast, Episode 13. It's your host, Reika Fujishima, also known as Hikaru Kazushime, around RunAroundNet, Azure Infinitum, and across the internet. Today we have Baby Shoes, Oshkosh B'gosh, Mistithgar, and Nora Swift returning with us today. We had a lot of fun with 6.3. Patch 6.3 of Final Fantasy 14 recently released. We talked about it quite a bit on our last podcast episode. Today we're going to talk about our impressions as well as some first thoughts. Most of us have been through a good chunk of it. We're going to kind of go over the new raid. We've got just a entire warning. Spoiler warning. Yes, thank you. Spoiler warning for sure. We've got quite a bit to go over, so when we get to that part of the podcast, we are going to give a spoiler warning for sure. That way we can fully talk about our impressions. So those who may have been through patch 6.3 already, you might find our spoiler chat to be interesting. You can hear our impressions. Also, before that, we are going to go over an entire wait, no, hold on, I'm going to edit that. We're going to go ahead and talk about today a list of upcoming things for Azure Infinitum. Some stuff that we talked about recently in our Grand Assembly, but we're also going to go over our patch 6.3 impressions following that as well. So spoiler warning, just in case. If you haven't fully finished the patch 6.3 story in the current patch of 14, then you might want to just skip that segment. And later on in the podcast, we're gonna just chat about some of the games we've been playing, some of the stuff we've been up to outside of 14. I know from time to time we've got folks in our community that like to chat about other games besides 14 or Destiny, and us here as podcast hosts gonna have a little chat about some fun stuff we've been working on. Also want to welcome Baby Shoes back to our podcast tonight. Baby Shoes was out last week. What were you up to last week, Baby Shoes?
Yeah, you could say I was busy. I got married on the 5th at the time of this recording. So about 2 weeks ago now. 2 weeks ago yesterday.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
Yes.
Made an honest woman out of Hermione Polkadot. She's in the FC but hasn't played in a while. And she actually snuck a Final Fantasy reference into her vows, which is partially why explains why I married her.
Nice.
That's
By the way,
awesome.
when are you guys doing the in-game thing?
She'll be back into the game, and when she does, she'll be back and she'll dedicate some time and stuff to it. So whenever that happens, could be next week, could be a month from now, or something like that. But yeah, when she's back,
we will be announcing this.
Yeah, for sure.
And I saw you sneak on that one day.
Oh yeah. I definitely have my Steam Deck down there. I was definitely playing it on it. Steam Deck plus Final Fantasy is a pretty good combination. So I had taken it down there and just messing around with it in the hotel room.
I was interested, how well is it run on Steam Deck?
It runs very well. You can lock it to 40 FPS, and it pretty much stays at 40 FPS even in the cities. And if you're used to playing it with a controller, it works perfectly fine with that. And I actually have a little USB-C dock, and I play it with a kickstand and just play it like I normally play it on a desktop.
Oh, very cool.
It's very, very playable. It runs a little bit faster than the PS4 version.
Wow, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just sitting there. I think I typed that into chat when I was doing it. I was like, I'm sitting here in a hotel room in Vegas playing this on a Steam Deck. Like,
Yeah.
what a
Hermione,
what a world!
If you listen to this, please don't hurt him. We do love him.
Yes, yes.
Oh no, it's good. She was tripping too. Like she's like,
I was
that's so
gonna say,
cool.
He's not the only one who's done that. Claudia was on his honeymoon and hopped on the Steam Deck.
I
Yep.
forgot about that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finger Wondrous Wednesdays, yeah.
Yeah.
For
and
some
it was-
reason, this is just a thing in
Yeah,
Azure.
I was about
where
to say.
people on the 14 during their honeymoon
Yeah.
or their wedding night.
Exactly.
They're just like, hey, we want to join the
Yeah.
Azure event.
Yeah.
And the only
That's
reason
pretty
Faye
cool.
was upset was because he was using the Steam Deck and not her. Like,
Oh man. Oh my goodness.
like I wish I was
Yep.
doing this too, bitch. Like,
Yeah. So I was playing some other stuff. In all fairness, on it, we can get into that when we get to the what have we been playing section.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, congratulations again, Baby Shoes, and welcome back on this week's episode.
Thank you.
Interesting, as Nora said, honeymoon FF14 Steam Deck.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Great combination.
Yeah.
Coming up in our community is patch 6.35 in an unknown amount of time. We talked a little bit about our plans for the near future at our last assembly, and some of those included setting up a Eureka Orthos event in the near future, bringing back. I see your excitement already. Was that excitement or was that disappointment?
That was excitement.
Okay, I
Yeah,
thought
me
so.
too.
And
I've been bugging Misty about this for months.
some
A lot of
folks.
people have.
Some folks in our community or those listening might remember Azure Dungeon Delvers. Azure Dungeon Delvers was our POTD / Heaven on High event for the Deep Dungeon content in Final Fantasy 14 Online, and basically would see a party of attendees, attendees split into multiple parties, progressing in Deep Dungeon content in 14. And it has been a while. It's been a while since we've run it. It kind of ran its course as an event, and then of course we hit slow times leading up to Endwalker. A lot of folks taking a break during that wait period when the expansion was getting delayed at the end of 2021, and attendances were a little bit low. A lot of folks on break, like I said, but now we're kind of at the point where there's this Deep Dungeon content. It's brand new, and nobody's experienced it before, and we're all about to venture into this when it comes out. There are some ideas on when this content will release. There's no official date yet, but we're prepping for that, as well as quite a bit of other fun stuff. We announced at the assembly that there's going to actually be a handful of new seasonal events coming to Azure Infinitum this year. So the first is next month's Valentine's Day event. We don't have a special name for it yet. But we just wanted folks to look forward to that. We'll be doing something special the week of Valentine's Day in early February, or mid-February, I guess, early mid-February. Stay tuned for information on that. Going forward, we've also got some fun updates planned for our Discord, our website, and working on uniforming some of our content across what is currently Runaround Network and Azure Infinitum's websites. Keep in mind, if you're within our community and you're a member who's listening, we are recruiting to our support team pretty heavily right now. We're working on increasing strength amongst our rank structure and working to build the next generations of Azure ranks, and folks who support our events help us recruit, and those that may even one day join leadership or be on this podcast.
yeah, right.
So, other than that, hold on one sec here. Just drop my piece of paper. So what we've been doing as well is looking at what patch 6.3 has brought for our FC. One of those big things that we've been looking forward to is the big 24-man Ep.13 raid, which goes along with Eglia, the previous 24-man raid from patch 6.1 that released around, what was it, spring last year, 6.1 came out?
Okay, I don't know, is it Aglia or is it Algaia?
Aglaya, I think.
Aglaya?
Aglaya. I'm not.
I think Aglaya is the closest.
Because I don't think they ever voiced it in a voice acting segment.
I know Ep.13 is a word that existed before 14.
Yeah.
I looked that up. I don't know about
get
Aglaya.
a professor of Greek linguistics on here. settle it once and for all.
Do you want me to look up Noah?
Well, for the sake of moving forward, we'll call it Aglaya. If we're wrong, let us know in the comments below or somewhere in our community. Just poke us and be like, hey, it's this. But running both raids gives you a coin that allows you to make an upgrade to your Lunar Envoy gear and get that sweet I-630 upgrade in FF14. And we're doing those each week. Raids group via Party Finder. That means we've got a password. We keep it private so that randoms don't come in and budge their way into our event. We're able to kind of, at least control the tanks and healers. But fortunately, in Azure, we get a full 24-man group pretty quick, especially this last week. We grouped...
I was going to say, last week we filled in like 3 minutes
super
tops.
fast.
And that was all logistics.
Under
That was
3.
literally just all.
Yeah.
Yep. We didn't even have to open it up to randoms or anything. Like, it was
You
just...
mean even after I botched it and wanted to switch classes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we took off like
Well, that's what grouping time is for, in case we need
7
changes.
minutes before grouping time normally
Yeah.
ends, even with that snafu.
It was perfect. A lot of times we'll kind of hang around just to make sure that we didn't have like another good, nearly full-size party full of people that still wanted to go. Sometimes we'll run a backup group when we run 24 mans. We have heard a lot of people in the community requesting a backup day raid, maybe something that happens on the weekend for folks who can't make it during the week, and I just want to remind our community that we do it on Tuesday because it's a reset day. We get the most attendance, and we try for a time on Tuesday evenings that are the sweetest spot we can between Pacific and Eastern, and it's the best we can do. But we do hear the feedback. We're definitely aware of those who are looking for an additional 24-man alliance event, or at least a full party of Azure that can stick together and run the raid together on another day, like our old backup Eden days. We used to do that.
Yeah.
It was an additional day, just to make sure that folks had their raid loot right before the weekly reset would come again. So a lot of rewards this patch. There's a lot of things to go after. There's mounts.
Real quick before you go into it.
Yeah.
It's not important, but it is funny. I switched from tank to dancer so I could gear my dancer up so I could beat Misty in Wolf's Den. So I can get that eye level advantage over him, because it was so close the last time we dueled. So I keep looking at his gear on Samurai, and I'm like, oh, I'm 5 points ahead of him.
Okay,
So I should challenge him now.
From Destiny 2 Wing in order to play catch up then.
Oh no! Well, you're not getting out of it that easily, brother.
So I secretly switched to my dancer so I could out item level Misty so I could challenge him.
Man.
But thanks for the reminder on the coins. I completely forgot to upgrade my Lunar Envoy gear this week. If anyone from my static happens to hear this, I am sorry. I am sticking with Machinist because that is the best job ever.
Yeah, the upgrades are really nice. There's a lot of rewards this patch. I mean, we've got mounts tied to maps now, and there's just a whole slew of things to get into. So definitely check out the patch notes if you haven't yet. That gives you a real good idea what to expect and what to look for, or maybe some things that we forget about time to time. One thing that is kind of not being talked about very much that I noticed is that one thing that's coming in patch 6.35, looking ahead, is that the crystalline mean quests are actually going to be required for upcoming crafting and gathering content that's coming. So if you haven't gone to the Crystarium and done those and finished them, you might want to get on that now, because
I can't even do them yet because my crafters aren't high enough.
Yeah, I just started back when Shadowbringers, was the main expansion, and those quests had come out. I wasn't even paying attention to crafting gathering content. I usually keep up with it each expansion, but that was the one expansion that I just did not do as much in that one, and then I forgot the Crystarium deliveries were a thing.
Are those the quests up on the second level, and you do all the turn-ins to progress the story? Okay, yeah. I did those. Sweet. Yeah, because a couple months ago I not power leveled, but I gathered like a madman and got all my gatherers to 90.
They're very similar to the custom deliveries, except for you're not locked. You can do as many as you want. at one
Oh,
time.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That is
And
good to know.
yeah, they're
I'm
not locked.
literally leveling my miner right now.
Yeah, you can do tons of them, like as many as you want to do, as long as you can do it. The only thing though is that they don't use unique mats; they use real mats. So yeah,
Okay.
There's the trick.
yeah, there's the thing. Yeah, so you know, I spent maybe just a few minutes with my level 90 carpenter and just did like several of the affection levels. Like I forgot the official term for the Crystarium delivery ones. They're not affection levels like they are with the custom deliveries. But I got through a few levels real fast in just a few minutes. I just looked up what it would need and then went and just made a few things. And if you've already got a 90, it goes even faster. So. But definitely something to think about because they did say something about crystalline mean being needing to be completed. So that tells me that we're going to be in the first working on crafter and gatherer relics this time. So that's cool. I like how they bring us back to older areas.
Yes.
Anybody go swimming in Lenosha yet? In the
I have not.
underwater
Yes,
spot?
I have. That's how I was gonna try and afford upgrading to a medium, but then I realized I needed to actually get the new gear and materia for my gatherer, so rip that dream.
I'm actually going to do that tonight because I'm taking a break from leveling and now I'm going back and catching up because I'm jealous of all the people with the link shell emotes and the samurai outfits.
PvP, right? The link shell emote?
I know
I
the
think it
armor
is. No, I think it is. Somebody
okay.
did it the
Yeah,
other night.
I've been doing my front lines too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the discrete discussion comes from PvP Series 3.
Okay. Yeah, I've been working on that too.
I'm gonna have to get that just for the annoying noise.
And speaking of PvP, we've got Super Azure Slayer Sundays every Sunday.
Nice.
Just teleport behind Glitchy and have it go off. Like
there was a video.
God.
There was a video that came out, and now I can't unsee it / unhear it. It was a Zeppla video, and she was talking about how at the end of everything in this game, you do everything for glam. And she was like, the only reason I PvP'd was for that glam.
Glam
the only reason
is the
I did
end
this
game.
was for the glam.
That is
And
a pretty nice
now I hear her
Game.
voice whenever I'm doing stuff, because at the end of the day, it's for the emotes and for the glam.
Yeah, this is a pretty neat
I
glam they
think
released.
housing is the real true end game because anyone can do.
That's the
glam,
EX. That's the
but-
EX and Savage of the end game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but-
like,
Yeah, a bunch of them went out today.
Older Screen games in comparison, like the old Star Ocean games. Glam is the
I
Star
love
Dungeons, and then housing is the EX Star Dungeons.
Which,
Yeah.
Osh, by the way, congrats.
Won despite
Yeah.
my best efforts.
Wait, did one of us
Yeah,
get house today?
Yeah, the
A
FC
bunch
did
of
really
them
well.
got
There was a couple
houses.
people that did.
Yeah.
Nice.
Osh got one.
Claudia
Glitchy
got one, too.
I know.
Yeah,
Uh,
Glitchy
Yeah.
upgraded to a medium. Osh got his
I
final.
got a small, and I'm pissed about it.
I believe Saris got one
It's
too.
not that it's a small that I own it at all.
Yeah, I think Aaron got one.
Mhm. Aaron did. Claudia. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Claude
nice.
got one.
I
A
think
whole lot of
Kayaza
people
got
got
one.
him.
Kayaza, I'm not sure how.
Yep. So
Well,
yeah,
a lot of
FC
people
did pretty
got
well
houses,
today.
Oh,
Yeah.
there are. I was already looking, Mist. There are gonna be a lot of plots open next
I've
week.
been looking at it.
'Cause- Yeah, there's a lot of relocations I've noticed.
Mhm.
Yep.
You get those demolitions as well.
That's also true.
Hmm
So, let me see here. Okay, well, we could just basically just continue with 6.3 talk.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the new raid specifically, speaking of Euphrosyne, personally, I really enjoyed meeting the members of the 12 that are in that raid. We've got Nafika, we've got Menfina, and we got Altic, Nemea, and I'm missing one, aren't I? Am I missing one? Yes, Halon, of course. And so, you know what's really interesting about that to me is that means that the next one, there's only 3 members of the 12 left that we haven't met. So I'm thinking we're going to not only meet them, but that 13th they sort of hinted about. Maybe we should go into like full spoiler warning here.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea. Okay, spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. So going into Euphrosyne, we've got we've got 5 more members of the 12 that were presented in that raid, as opposed to I think it was like 4 in
Four,
Anglia.
the first one.
Yeah,
Four in the first
so
one, yeah.
4 and then 5, so that's 9. So that means there's 3 more. And the ones that are left is Limlane, Oshan, and oh crap, I'm brain farting now. Who was the other one? Limlane, Oshan. I was just reading.
Builder, wasn't it?
No. Bargot was the first one.
Oh, talking about the
Bargot's
second one.
the
So I
builder.
haven't done the second one
Oh
yet.
crap! I'm like having a serious brain. Oh, Thaliak. Thaliak is the other one.
Thaliak, yeah.
So Thaliak, Oshan, and Limlane are left, and then there's a mysterious 13th person that's like a overseer of the 12. And we've talked a bit about this in our spoiler chat in the Discord, but
It's gonna be the Oppo.
the Oppo is 13th. Yeah, either that or
Derek.
Derek has got to be
Derek's
something
just gonna be one of
like.
Derek's just gonna be one of the
It's
12.
Tataru. We all know it's Tataru because she wasn't the end boss at the end of Endwalker, so she's going to be the Lord of the 12. Then.
Oh my god.
The Lord of the
No,
12.
because, like, the end boss, she basically just like buys all of Eorzea.
I'm just.
Sorry, this is literally the Jar Jar being Sith Lord.
Oh,
It
boy.
is.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that is never.
That's a
not
very good
going
point.
To be canon to me.
So that's the end of the comparisons between
I don't care
Tataru
what
and Jar
Disney
Jar.
does. That's going to be canon to me.
Oh my goodness.
Actually, the real ending for Jar Jar is like super accurate, and it's pretty well. That's a whole other thing. But
What's
yeah,
the
if you
what
have-
is it? What's the official one?
So actually, in canon, in Disney canon, Jar Jar ends up back on Naboo, and all the adults hate him because he's the one that put Palpatine in power. So after the end of the Return of the Jedi and stuff, he goes back there and he's ostracized. All the adults hate his guts, but the kids love him. So he's out there and he's like entertaining all the kids out in these like public parks, and the kids are like, "You're so funny, Jar Jar," and all the adults are like, "Fuck that guy."
Oh,
So like what happens to him in canon is actually what happened to him in real life too.
oh
Nice.
wow.
Yeah.
See, I knew that he remained like somewhere in the Senate or whatever, but I had no
Mhm.
idea. That's hilarious. That's
Yeah, so that's actually in the canon. If you
Jar Jar somehow got a girlfriend.
that's
Yeah,
way
if-
better
if-
than him being a Sith Lord.
if you ever read the Aftermath books, the first one's a struggle, but the next two are pretty good. That's what ends up happening to him.
Yeah, I've got the first Aftermath. I need to finish.
Oh, it's awful. The first one's awful. It's an awful read, but the second two are really good.
I was reading Bloodlines. Was pretty good. The
That's the
Claudia
Princess
Grace.
Leia one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When everybody spoilers, when everybody finds
So,
out that she's Vader's daughter.
I'm sorry, the best thing that Disney did canon-wise was bring Timothy Zahn in to reintroduce,
Dude, their
Thrawn?
books are pretty good. Most of their books are excellent. Most of the
Yeah.
comics are excellent. Yeah.
Oh, I disagree, but their best decision was to bring in Timothy Zahn to bring back, what's his name? Thrawn.
Admiral
Thrawn?
Thrawn. Yeah.
Thrawn,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are good.
Thrawn would not exist without Zahn, so it's
Yeah.
just yes.
Yeah, they did a good job with
Yeah,
Thrawn.
the Zahn novels were probably the best of the
Oh yeah, for
now
sure.
what's called Legends universe.
Oh god, yeah.
It's up there,
Legends.
yeah.
You know, there's new Star Wars things that I do enjoy. Like, there's quite a bit of new Star Wars things that I enjoy.
The
There's a lot of-
Phasma book was awesome. Because it's
There's-
basically Mad Max in the Star Wars universe.
There's some good books, and then there's
The Vader comic running right now is really good.
the Vader comics awesome. I have a couple of the hardcover ones. The shows aren't bad. On Disney Plus.
It's a mixed bag. I say Rebels is excellent. That's some of the best Star Wars that's
Yeah.
ever been made.
Rebels and
Rebels was
Clone
really good.
Wars.
Yeah.
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 Oh, Clone Wars
Um,
is awesome. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Clone Wars is like
It's so
pre-Disney,
awesome.
So
Yeah.
they just kept it canon.
The funny thing
So,
about
good job.
the Zahn books were for Thrawn, the ones that introduced Admiral Thrawn. The trilogy, that famous trilogy with what was it?
Oh, yeah.
Last Command, Dark Force Rising, and Heir to the
Oh
Empire.
yeah, it was Zizo.
Not in that order,
Yeah.
but
Those are the ones that literally brought Star Wars back into the.
the funny thing about
the
those
limelight.
is I was 6 years old when I got into Star Wars, and so it's back in 1996, and I don't remember where exactly they came from, but I think it was my parents that just found some Star Wars books at like a garage sale or something, and they were like, "Here you go," and of course these were like quite a bit above my reading level, but even though I've had a high reading level as a kid, I was trying my best to read through them. And Dark Force Rising, specifically the middle book, the Empire Strikes Back version of that trilogy, in my opinion, became like a bedtime story for me when I was like 6 or 7. And so I grew up like knowing about Thrawn and always wanting to see him in somewhere in like a movie or something more, really official. And it was really fun knowing about that story because, of course, it's like post Return of the Jedi. And I remember going to school, and whenever I'd meet any kids that would talk about Star Wars, I would always feel like I knew more. I was like, I know the secrets of after the movies.
You know what's crazy?
It's
is
such a good story too.
I was born in 1976. The first one came out in 1977. So I was, I was like 1, and I remember. Like faintly, I remember like little things from when I was really little, and it kind of freaks my parents out sometimes because I can remember like very specific things sometimes. But I remember my impetus for wanting to learn how to read was I wanted to read the back of the Star Wars action figure box. So I was like maybe like 2 or 3 years old. I remember going like, I have to know what this says. Yeah. So I was like asking my parents, and I was trying to learn how to read and stuff, and like that was me. Like I wanted to read the back of the Star Wars box. So I couldn't have been more than like 2, 3 years old. But I remember that though. So it's interesting that you say, you were 6 and you discovered it.
Yeah.
And the Thrawn books is like, made you want to read and stuff like that. It was the same with me.
Oh, it's awesome, man. Star Wars is like, it's like so many. It means something to everybody in a different way. I think it's just a great. It's a great IP.
Yeah,
it's an understatement, but. But yeah, that's really
Star
cool.
Wars isn't quite for me, but I'm not mad about it either, because old Star Wars isn't for kids nowadays. Like you try to show a kid A New Hope, and they'll be like, "This is boring as hell."
It depends. I mean,
it depends on the kid.
I
for instance,
with the internet and everything, and all like the modern Star Wars movies, you try to show them New Hope after they've seen like episode 9. It's just like, why? Like,
yeah, I kind of got lucky because I showed that to my kids when they were younger. They're all like 11, 12, 13 now. I have a 15 and a 16-year-old as well. But I showed that to them when they were smaller, so they understood the context of when these movies came out, and they just enjoyed the story. So they love the original trilogy. I think I might have spoken to a few of you, or maybe even mentioned this on a podcast. Maybe about a year ago, I was curious, like why they never asked to watch the other Star Wars movies besides The Force Awakens. They really liked that one, but they weren't interested in anything that came after that, and they never asked about the prequels either. So one day we sat down and I started streaming Phantom Menace for them, and I swear to God, I'll think about this on my deathbed. They go, Dad, about 20 minutes into the movie, 25 minutes into the movie, they make me pause it, and they go, Dad, and they're all looking at me, and they look at each other, and they go, is this a bad Star Wars movie? and I was like, why? What's going on? Like, you're not, like, this is kind of bad. Like, it's just as a movie. This is bad. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just keep watching it.
Oh my gosh.
But then they made me pause it about 20 minutes later, and they're like, yeah, this is bad. So we spent the whole rest of the movie just picking it apart, and we kind of bonded over picking it apart. Phantom Menace.
Okay, yeah, you're doing it right then.
All the Star Wars movies to MST3K now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
You should check out Darths and Droids. It's basically it starts in episode 1, and it's played like it's a D&D campaign. And the guy who plays like I think it's Obi-Wan is just like a total min-maxer.
Nice.
And it's really, really good. It's hilarious. Like at one point he tries to like pull out his lightsaber and fight the sandstorm when they're trying to get on the ship.
What?
Like, you can't do that. You can't fight a sandstorm. I'm rolling for initiative. Just pull him on the damn ship.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I can't imagine messing with the darkness.
Yeah. So that's something I'll never forget. And I was trying to be neutral. I didn't want my opinion to like sway them. Like, if they like it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I didn't want my opinion to be why they do or don't like it. But they were just like, this is bad.
That's funny. That's funny.
Although
Even
speaking of
things that
episode
suck have
1
an audience.
and the Disney canon, credit to Disney, they gave Maul one of the best endings in Star Wars canon.
Yeah, like
I was glad to see him on Rebels, but
yeah,
I like the ending they gave him.
You kind of want to see him not in a cartoon and not exactly at the end of Solo either.
Yeah.
Like, I forget he was in the end of Solo.
Yeah.
I barely even remember that movie. It wasn't bad. It was just like so middle of the road that it's just like,
Yeah.
And I really wanted to like it too.
All right.
I really wanted to like it. I liked the cast.
And honestly,
like Han Solo.
I remember
Good.
going into it. Everyone's big concern was like, can this guy play solo? And that dude did an excellent job.
I think he
and,
did, yeah.
And I feel like they're wasting him. If they have him, they should have just kept making movies with them. But they lost a bunch of money on that movie, so they didn't make a sequel.
They were thinking about Solo too, but yeah, like you said, they lost money on it.
Hashtag Solo lost money. That's actually in a hashtag.
Yeah, it's oftentimes.
Solo,
Sorry, go ahead, Nora.
I liked Solo. I've always been into that kind of bounty hunter side of Star Wars.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, it was just kind of there.
It was serviceable.
Yeah, and I get why people would like it. And there was stuff about it I liked, but I'm good.
Donald Glover. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. You know,
they also wasted a really good droid name because wasn't his droid name Leet? It was like 1337. So now you can't use that anywhere else in Star Wars because there's like it's a waste of a droid name.
Unless somehow Han Solo reunites with the droids.
Technically, spoilers for Solo. Technically, he never left because there wasn't that robot like integrated into the Falcon. And that's why the Falcon was all temperamental in all the other movies.
Falcon. Yep. That's right. Oh my goodness.
Oh Lord.
Sometimes I feel odd because I'm the type of person where like I know that things will change over time, and I always hope for the best. But it's like at least it's not gone or abandoned. You know, the franchise, like it's still going, and there's some good here. You know, with the bad sometimes.
I mean, and all that old canon, all that old legend stuff still exists. So if you want to go back and read that,
it's out there.
Speaking of
that canon,
legends,
it's still there.
I saw a weird rumor floating around that supposedly someone's trying to make the Yuzong Vong trilogy into a series of movies.
I mean, weren't they hinting at the Vong in the Thrawn novels? They're pretty much hinting at the Vong. They're saying it was the Vong without saying it's the Vong.
Yeah, but then there's someone trying to actually like make movies out of the Legends books. Apparently,
that's what they should have done. Anyway,
yeah, I think a lot more people would agree with them doing that than people that didn't want them to do that. I mean, there's so much content in there to work with, and it actually makes Palpatine's goals more. They make a little bit more sense. Instead of just being evil for no reason, he actually was he had a much larger plan.
And that wasn't the case until we got to Rise of Skywalker. So that mystery was still there, and then he's like, "I'm evil. Watch me shoot lightning in the sky."
Yeah, clone Palpatine. The only way they could try to sort of fix it is that they were like, well, that clone Palpatine was crazy, and like the real one would have done that or something. Well,
there is a back door built into Star Wars because if you watched Rebels, there was the world between worlds.
Oh yeah, yep.
So there's the timeline right now is if Ahsoka lived, but if Ezra lets her die right then and there, it's a completely split timeline. So they could go back in there and just save her some other way or let her die, and then they can just totally rewrite everything from that point forward.
A huge chain reaction of stuff they could change. Yeah.
So that was written on purpose. Like Dave Filoni put that in there on purpose. It's just in case one day they ever wanted to reboot it from that point on, they could.
He's literally the guy that put the
AUs. Like, hey,
he's
we're gonna have a second canon.
Yeah, they totally could. And they could just be like, this is Legends now too, and just have new movies going forward.
It's like
we've had one canon, yes, but what about second canon?
This would be third canon at this point.
Yeah.
So basically, like Galen Erso'd the Star Wars franchise by putting a backdoor chain reaction, just like he did, just like the Death Star.
And Catalyst, Star Wars Catalyst is the prequel novel to
Catalyst,
Rogue One, and it's excellent.
Yeah, Catalyst is good. There's a lot of good Star Wars novels. We could probably talk about Star Wars novels for a long time.
Forever. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Yep. Let me see here. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick on the Star Wars subject. I was gonna say that sometimes I feel weird because I will try to support the thing even if the thing is not as good. I'm just glad it's still around. But I think about back when I was a kid, I was impressed by a lot of things. So I was like, well, I'd probably still be impressed by some of this. When I was still coming into seeing Star Wars. I've taken a few people through all the movies. I'm always down for a Star Wars marathon. So I had a friend, let's see, it was a friend and a friend's kid that came by one time, and the friend's kid was he was turning 15, so he was 14, never saw Star Wars ever, and I was just like, I'm like, you see these? We're gonna watch these. He never saw Lord of the Rings either, so we did that, and The Matrix.
Oh my god!
All of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was just like, we went
couldn't sit
through.
all the Matrix again.
I love The Matrix. It's one of my favorite
I love
franchises.
the first one.
It's like we went through all of it, every
I actually
single
liked
time.
all three of those. I like the first one the best by far, but I liked all three of them.
Should have been a self-contained movie, and there are really, really cool sequences in the sequels. Like, if you just want to watch it for like action porn, then it's awesome.
Yeah.
But
and like all the meta stuff around it, like the Matrix Reloaded and little side stories and stuff. That would have been
Reloaded
cool.
was the animatrix.
The Animatrix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reloaded the second one, and then the Animatrix, and then the third one.
Yes, the Animatrix. Yep.
And then the game,
Animatrix,
added like stuff too. Like they had, there's like several games. One game was literally a middle story, the Enter the Matrix game, and then
Yeah, that's the one with the twins, and Jada Pinkett Smith was in that one too, right?
Yeah, and Path of Neo was an amazing PS2 game that added an alternate ending where like Smith absorbs all the buildings and becomes Mecha Smith at the end.
What about the Matrix Online? Don't forget that.
Yeah, I was about to say that added that was the only official like sequel story to 3, and
then they put it in an MMO. That's
and
brilliant.
then there's Matrix 4, which I forget exists.
What?
Yeah, I didn't even watch the new one.
The new Matrix movie.
I've heard nothing but bad things about it, and I already my opinion of the Matrix diminished with each subsequent movie, so I don't need to do that again.
I haven't actually watched the 4th Matrix yet. I haven't actually watched it, but what I was gonna say was, a friend's kid. It was interesting, like watching a current day teenager go through something like Star Wars after never knowing anything about it, and we started from episode 1. I just put on episode 1. I was like, let's Phantom Menace, let's go. I told him, I warned him, I'm like, there's gonna be like 12 or 13 movies. We're just gonna do it.
Now this is pod racing,
and he loved it all. He actually loved the whole thing. And then episode 9 wasn't out yet. Episode 9 actually was not out yet, and at that time. And so when the new episode came out, he had moved cross country. He actually like found me online and messaged me again, and he's like, hey, I saw the new one too. And it was like awesome. So there's some hope, I think, for like some people to not like to see the newer ones and not like totally ruin it, because I think we've all spent a lot of time knowing the old ones. I think that's another thing too. So then when we see something new, we're kind of like, and then, and it's like I'm never quite sure if I'm sounding old or not, because some old people are like, these kids these days, and I don't want to sound like that, but then sometimes it's like hard to determine, is it actually bad, or is it just because
aliens were Muppets?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have that weird realization where all the people you thought were old crotchety complainers were like actually onto something.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
You get yourself, and it's like, no, this is actually bad, but I know how I must sound right now, though.
That's the next point I was gonna make. I'm like, was Grandpa right? Like,
yeah, just all that kind of stuff. Like those old guys at the comic book shop, you get your Spider-Mans, and they're like, that's not a good Spider-Man. The ones I got in like 1969 were the best ones, and you're like, whatever, old man. And now you're like, the ones I got in the 90s were the best ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man should be in college, hanging out with Harry, not being a clone or something.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. Like it's like, am I being picky? Is it actually bad content, or am I just used to the old stuff? So it's hard to.
Some of it's like legitimately bad content.
Yeah,
but there's nothing.
Most
wrong
of
with
it these
enjoying
days is legitimately bad.
See, I get confused, because as a Star Wars fan, I didn't completely hate Episode 1 like a lot of people. I saw it when I was.
Lord.
I saw it when. Okay, hold on. Let me explain. No,
and this isn't towards you. I was having a flashback of it. So that was me. So
There's
sorry,
I know there's probably people listening like, oh my god, how could you say that that you don't absolutely hate it? But I know it's really popular to dislike it. A lot of people do legitimately dislike it, but I did not fully dislike Episode 1 as much as everybody else. What did happen with me was I was disappointed, because I didn't know about the prequels. I just saw a new Star Wars movie, didn't even like care what it was called, and went to see it because I was already obsessed with the original trilogy as a kid. And I mean, this was only like 3 years later after I discovered Star Wars. 1999, went to theater, and I knew who Anakin Skywalker was from lore, because I had trading cards that, some of them were like trading cards with artwork from the books, and then the books talked about Anakin. And they barely mention Anakin in the trilogy. They just say Vader and Luke's father and stuff like that. And And so as a kid, I was always, I always wanted to like think beyond what was available. Just like I liked the novels. I also was like thinking, I was like, oh, we get to learn more about Anakin. But when Anakin was like a kid, and then they said that episode 2 was going to be like a love story, and then as a kid, I was like, man, I don't want to watch a love story. I want my like Return of the Jedi action because that was like my favorite one with the space battles and stuff. And so, so it was kind of like, like I was like a little disappointed on the content, but I didn't hate the movie itself. And I never liked Jar Jar. Never liked Jar Jar. I'll say that, but Liam Neeson made it better because I've always loved Liam Neeson's acting.
He was great.
Oh,
as
yeah.
Qui-Gon.
And
Liam Neeson,
Ian McGregor.
Yeah, and then seeing Obi-Wan younger was kind
the
of cool.
duel of the Fates, the pod racing scene, and the lightsaber duel,
Like one of the greatest
like
things
save
that's
that
ever
entire
happened.
movie.
Yeah, exactly. So
Hello there.
so in that question,
General Kenobi.
that makes me want to ask: it was episode 1 really that bad?
Yes. Yes. Objectively, it's a bad movie.
Overall plot.
It's still bad. Oh.
Mhm. Have you seen
It's
that
still
clip
bad.
of Lucas watching the screening?
No.
And he realized how bad it was, and he realized that he couldn't go back and fix it.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, go watch the Red Letter Media.
It's pretty funny.
They actually put that clip in there, and I think you can watch it separately. But after the screening, he's literally just sitting there. He's white as a ghost, and he's just talking about like, we can't fix that because how we edited it and stuff, and we can't reshoot that. Like he knew it. He knew it wasn't good. So to see the creator be like, oh boy, like that wasn't good.
I could see that. I could see that. I think the
big thing with
Gungans.
that was it was his first time actually like editing a movie.
Well, not only that, but the heart and soul of that franchise was his wife, was Marsha Lucas. She's the one that
Right.
made it
That's what I was
snappy
saying.
and put personality and stuff in it. Because before that, George
She
wasn't
cut
really
out
doing
all his-
movies. Yeah,
cut
all
out
of his
all
artsy
his
fartsy stuff. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she was the heart and soul of that. So because she wasn't there to tell him no, we kind of got what we got as compared to the original trilogy, where her fingerprints are all over that, as far as the humor and the humanity and stuff of it.
So if I could remove
I mean,
3
you guys think
things.
about Star Trek and Gene and his wife, Marjorie. I'm responsible to save my life, Marjorie.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I think I know what you mean. If I could
Was it similar with them too?
Well, it wasn't so much that she held him back, as they were like a paired team. She was constantly inputting on what he was doing, and she even voiced every ship's computer in the series,
Oh wow.
Nice. I didn't
That's
know that.
interesting.
including in TNG. She left voice prints behind so that they could synthesize her voice for future series.
Nice.
Oh wow.
I
Wow.
didn't know that.
That's pretty impressive. I was gonna say if I could remove 3 things from episode 1 to make it a better movie, I would remove the Gungans, or at least replace them with a more interesting like alien race.
Jar
It was a little
Binks.
I mean, they actually wound up making this fairly interesting.
the Gungans, the oh god, what was the second thing I was gonna say? Well, the Gungans was one thing. Crap, now I'm brain farting. Well, I know one other thing. There's 3 things. So the other thing, the third thing I was going to say, I'll try to remember the second thing. The third thing I was going to say is the accents, the super like stereotypical Asian accents of the aliens, the other aliens.
Oh, boy.
That's so cringy to listen to.
It is.
And-
And they gave him the little slanted
Oh my
eyes too.
God.
And then
It's
they had
so
robots. Yeah, it was bad.
It's so bad, and anybody like in especially like in modern times that haven't seen that, and I show it to them, they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
It's not even just that; it's the way they dress too.
Like-
Like
Yeah, they had like
Oh my
kimonos
God.
kind of things on.
the
Yeah.
robes
There's
and,
so
those
much-
really tall,
Yeah.
those really tall hats. Yeah,
there have been
You know what's-
way many more ways to better do that, but
What's funny is, have you heard of the machete cut to
Yes.
watch the Star Wars movies?
yes.
There's
the
actually-
machete cut is the best way to watch them.
Yes. And the machete cut of Phantom Menace is 25 minutes long. So they chopped
Yeah,
out
what?
most of the movie.
holy
yeah.
crap!
Yeah. So like you go get this version of it and then you watch it in the order, and the machete cut of the Phantom Menace, it's like 20 or 25 minutes long.
Yeah, because there was the machete order, which is like if you're gonna watch these movies organically, you watch them in this order.
Yeah.
And then there was the machete cut, which is just
Yeah, there's a machete cut of
we come
of
to the
episode 1.
point
That's
of
fun.
why
That's
we're watching
funny.
these movies.
Yes. Yeah, so episode 1 gets like 80% cut.
You got
Yeah.
Nice.
some in your background
Jesus
there, Mist.
Christ, are you kidding me?
What is that?
I don't know.
What is what?
I think your roommate's going crazy.
Wait, what? I honestly don't hear him.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Hang on a second. Let me mute myself.
Okay.
Got a cockatoo.
It's cockatoo. Gosh, I can't remember what that other thing was.
Being an asshole.
Oh yeah, so the other thing that was good about it.
I was gonna say to remove three things to make it better.
Yes.
So remove the awkward accents of the Trade Federation aliens. Remove the Gungans, and I can't remember what I was gonna say. I had three really good points on that. Okay, what would you guys take out of Phantom Menace to make it better?
What I would do to make Phantom Menace better is just make it all about pod racing. And then it can just shows up in episode 2.
Okay.
Like episode 2, whatever, runs the same as normal, I guess. But like,
man, they really could have just
all pod racing.
You could just really
serious that shit.
Start with episode 2.
Serious that shit.
I can't only have one thing. I can't only have one thing to remove from that movie. There's a few. I would get rid of the whole Jesus thing, how he was immaculately concepted, and they show and they play like the weird music.
Just putting that in the first place.
Yeah, and it all looks like all like Bethlehem or wherever where they are. I was like, that's weird.
Well, they're in Tatooine.
And then get rid of the midichlorians, because that ruined the entire mysticism of the Force when they try to science it up. Get rid of half the politics. Because kids aren't going to a movie to learn about politics.
I liked the politics.
I was bored as like a 20-something-year-old. I couldn't imagine being like 6 and it's like, well, the Imperial Senate feels that the taxation of the Trade Federation in Sector 13. Yeah. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, it was like C-SPAN.
It's like I get the content purpose, but
I would cut back on the Jar Jar. Like, I get that you were trying to sell toys and you thought he was for the kids, but tell me. And I've asked 100 people this question, and a good 80% could tell me the moment. But tell me the moment you first saw that movie where you were like, okay, who's this character? Like when he first saves him from getting run over by the tank. And then there's a point in the movie where you're like, oh, like this guy's just going to be in the movie, I guess. Like everyone has that moment when you're just like, oh,
pretty
shit,
much,
like this is a character. You figure like he'd hand them off to somebody else and he'd just be like a background character. But then he's like still a main character, and it just keeps going through the movie. They even bring him to the hangar where they have the shootout, and I'm like, why is he there? Or no, he's out on the battlefield. Like, why is he there?
When they jumped off the bridge, and Jar Jar got stuck on the banister.
Yeah.
That's the moment I knew, Jesus Christ, they're forcing comic relief.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like...
I knew it the second he showed up, because the action figures were already out.
Yeah, and then he steps in the poo when they go to the town, and I'm like, he's just there to step in poo.
Oh my god.
That's the only reason he's in the movie, is to step in poo.
Yeah.
Like I guess he's just here now. Like, everybody, like, yeah, I remember that moment. And it's just like, I guess he's sticking around.
It's like, they're not releasing action figures of random background character 42.
I mean, they kind of do sometimes.
But it was a different era.
Yeah.
Sorry, when Unhas has an action figure, they do that.
Yeah.
Star Wars is famous for having
action figures of, like, back in, like, episode 1 days, though. This is like Power of the Force collection.
They gave Untas an action figure in the 80s.
Yeah, the Rancor Keeper had an action figure.
What wasn't that one of the Kenner?
Oh my god, they made an action figure of everything.
No,
yeah,
I have.
This was wasn't a Kenner. It was a I don't remember.
It was Hasbro that did the Legends ones, right?
Oh yeah, that's how we learned to.
That's right. I've got a bunch of the old figures. I still have one of the Rancor Pit Guard.
Oh my god.
Orc dudes.
Oh, the Gamorrean
guards.
In the plastic mailer.
My
that's
uncle
cool.
has a Nora's seen it. My uncle has a massive old Star Wars figures collection.
Yes.
I did.
I used to. Yeah.
Me too.
Exactly.
I had that whole original Darth Vader head carrying case full of like the first ones.
I had the C-3PO one.
To put the names on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, with little stickers. Yep, I had all that.
I had the Darth Vader, the C-3PO. Like my parents collected a ton of them for me, but they weren't the original ones. They were the '90s ones. So like the
Kenner ones.
Do you remember the one with it's like Darth Vader on the package with like some green light, and it was like that package Like,
yeah,
Yes.
green. It was green.
it was
at
like
first,
green
and
and
then
black
eventually
and
became
then red,
orange
like
after,
red.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I
It
collected
became orange
those.
around the time of
Had like a
episode 1.
ton,
Yeah.
a ton of ships, like all kinds of stuff, and then it ended up like like with my dad's family and stuff, and then I just never saw them again. But never even felt like going to find them. But I had a ton, and I noticed back then they made an action figure for everything. Like, but that's how people got to know Boba Fett. They actually. There's a story about how his name was never actually mentioned except for in promotional media and merchandise. And
It was for that action figure that if you bought like the whole set, you could send away for it, and then it just like never really materialized.
Yep.
The rocket launcher Boba Fett figure.
I can't remember what
Yeah,
the
that's
third
worth-
thing
that's
was.
worth-
I think that maybe I was gonna say Jar Jar and the Gungans, and it kind of was like 2, but I don't know.
No,
I don't.
That's
I have-
one
You're
thing.
so
He's a
bad
Gungan.
you have to remove him twice.
I don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't remember what it was now, but I thought of something else.
What's up?
Parliamentary procedure.
So this is like weird. Like, you know how you said midichlorians?
Mm-hmm.
I actually was not sure what to think about that when I first heard about it, because I had no idea what the crap they were talking about based on the old trilogy. But then way later, and I forgot I don't know if it was in Star Wars Rebels, and yeah, like decades later, when they established the wellspring of the Force, and then the fact that the Force is actually this like energy being created by something that's spreading throughout the galaxy, and then people with additional midichlorians have the ability to be more attuned to it. To me, that actually made a little bit more sense, because there's some stuff in like Warhammer that's like that.
Well, yeah, but that's them trying to make sense out of something that people complained about for 14. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a good
It's supposed
point.
to be
It's
mystical.
an after
Like,
the fact thing,
it's-
not like
it's-
the warp and.
It's not, no, we
Yeah.
had this in mind from second one. We're just revealing it now.
yeah, and the whole point of it from the beginning, as Obi-Wan says, as he describes it, it's this mystical thing. Even Han refers to them as this old crackpot mystic or whatever.
But wouldn't
So for them to try to science it up and then go back and it took away the mystery, like the mysticism of it. If it's just bacteria that everyone has in their cells, then whatever. It's all about the will of the Force. But when you make it like actually like numbers, it takes away from like that.
It could have been cool if they had introduced it like, oh, the Force is this mystical thing, but there are people who like have been genetically engineered to harness the Force better.
What about?
I mean, and they kind of did that in Legends with some
Yeah,
storyline.
that stuff was awesome.
Yeah.
But like, that's not what they did.
Right.
Yeah,
In,
they,
like main content.
What?
Yeah.
What about this idea in Dragon Ball? In Dragon Ball, there is
okay,
hold on.
okay.
There is there
Superman wins.
hold on. There is races across the galaxy that are aware of the legendary Super Saiyans, the ones that haven't seen them in a long time but remember their fearsome power. Okay, and for a long time it wasn't explained until later days, when they explained that there's actually like Saiyan cells have something in them, that react to certain energy, and then that's what makes them more powerful. So wouldn't the people in Star Wars think of it as a mystical thing because they don't understand it, but there's an actual explanation? Like, is anything truly mystical all the way for no reason, or is there actually
if they had
science that can
introduced it
explain?
that way from the start, or even when they introduced midichlorians in episode 1, I think that would work.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
it's like slapping a Band-Aid on like a sucking chest wound.
And not only that, yeah, I mean, yes, you have a point, but it's not only that; it's also like how they did it, like how it was presented.
It's how they did
How-
it.
how-
Okay.
It's not the fact that it exists; it's the fact that it was presented to us as absolute crap.
Yeah, and it was very like clinical, and he was like, "Here's the part of the movie where we're going to stop and explain it to you, idiots."
And
And it-
shake it
yeah.
real quick, and if it turns
Yeah.
purple, so many midichlorians. Oh my god!
And it came out of nowhere too. Like
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Like
You always
It's
figured
not
like the way that they
concept, it's the
discovered,
execution.
because you always figured the way they discovered Anakin was like the way that Qui-Gon was explaining why he was such a good pilot. Like that'd be like how the Jedi would do it, not like prick his finger and take a COVID test. It was
But see,
Yeah, like in I don't know if you guys ever played Force Unleashed,
yes, very much.
which
Yeah.
was canon at one point in time. Like Vader just recognizes like, oh no, there's a Jedi here, and he kills the shit out of your dad. Because he didn't feel your dad. He didn't feel your dad. He felt you, like Starkiller. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh nope, the kid's the one who's a super powerful Force awakened
Well,
thing,
see-
and he just like sensed it through the Force,
Yes.
not some
Which
blood
keeps
testicle.
yeah.
which keeps it
Like,
Yeah.
which keeps it more on that mystical side. So
yeah, and it was
perfect.
really well done. Like, I actually really enjoyed the story for the first game. The second game,
So later on, they actually established more of how Palpatine himself was the one who created Anakin.
Is that Palpatine or Plagueis? Because it was Plagueis in the old canon.
Have you heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis
Darth
the Wise?
Wise.
Perfectly
I
timed.
knew it was coming.
And I saw an article. I didn't read it because I was like, but I saw an article about how they were talking about how there's a story now in the Disney canon that kind of like deletes Plagueis as like part of his canon that was established before. So I saw that and I was like, all right, like now you're just messing around.
Well, just going by
aren't
the
you?
Vader comic, there's a few panels in the Vader comic that show Vader like it shows his real form in the Force. Have you seen that? It's like terrifying looking, like what his true form actually looks like in the Force. And
like
uh,
somebody who's
it's
like trying to search
it's
for him.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's really creepy looking. It's like what Vader looks like in the Force, and it's like he's like this black and red monster, and then his arms are legs are missing. They're there, but they're like white to show that they're mechanical. There's no Force power in them. But the rest is like him, and it's showing his memories, and he's like remembering all these quotes from the from the early Star Wars movies, before he was Vader, and then it goes into this really eerie set of panels that show like Palpatine like in his mind telling him that he was the one that created him the whole time and all this stuff. So it's a really interesting part of the Vader comic. But my favorite part of the Vader comic is the part where he's surrounded by rebels and he stops and says, they say, Vader, you're surrounded. And he's like, all I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men. And I was just like, that's what made me buy it. I was like, I have to buy this. I have to own this right now. This is amazing.
like the Vader run, like the one before the current one and the current one are both, oh my god,
They're really good. Yeah. Like they were talking about a Vader TV show and like, that'd be cool. Like more Vader.
If
Ooh,
they
your
adapt-
TV show would be cool.
If they
Yeah.
adapt like the current, is it IDW or Marvel who's producing the current
It's
Vader series? I think it's
IDW.
IDW. I'm pretty sure it's
I
IDW.
think so.
It's got to be Marvel, right?
Marvel has owned the franchise on and off for comic rights, but
Yeah,
I
'cause
don't
Dark
know that
Horse
they
did a
do
lot,
right
too.
now. Yeah, Dark
Yeah.
Horse.
Yeah.
Dark Horse did.
But then
all
they
the
kicked
stuff
them
during,
out.
like the '90s. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
All that
Dark
classic
Empire.
stuff.
Dark Empire.
Dark Empire
so
1 and
good.
2, Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Bounty Hunters,
Oh,
all
Tales
that
of the
stuff.
Jedi. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
didn't they try to do an adaptation of the Han Solo trilogy?
Not
The books?
not sure.
Yeah. In
Not
the comic
sure.
form for Dark Horse, because a lot of the Dark Horse stuff was basically like crib a book.
Oh,
The-
yeah, it's like a little
the
shortcut.
Dark Horse,
Little...
like the Splinters of the Mind's Eye comic.
I have that on
And that
cassette.
comic, the comic was sick.
I have that book on tape, literally on tape.
Have you guys seen
Splinters
the?
of the Mind's Eye was awesome.
Oh yeah,
That was
yes.
some classic
Splinter of
shit.
the Mind's Eye was. I read the comic as a kid, and I read it was. I read recently that it was actually a supposed to be what Empire Strikes Back became, or something like that. Like,
Yes, it was a sequel in case the movie flopped, and he could
Okay.
still like continue to sell Star Wars on the side or in a smaller
was
capacity.
Interesting.
Yeah.
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 So
It was really good.
was it ever fit in to actually be like
No.
in the story
No.
anywhere?
Nope.
Okay.
No,
Because
it
Star Wars
it's
was
not
a
even-
success, and they went ahead with
Oh,
everything that
okay.
we know.
So they just made a comic of it
Even,
anyway.
Like the novel and the comic are both non-canon to every universe.
Like-
Yeah.
They're not even canon to the old canon.
it's canon to.
It's canon to A New
canon
Hope.
To New Hope happened.
That's,
Like,
Yeah.
But that's it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but
New Hope
often
happened,
like its
then
own splinter
Splinters, and then
universe.
Nothing.
Man,
Yeah, it's in a universe where Star Wars flopped. Like that. It's in that universe.
Yeah, I was saying,
Leia
have
got
you guys
to be a
seen
badass in
the?
it, though,
Oh
so
yeah, that's
I'm-
true.
I'm down for
That's
that.
true. Have you guys seen the Obi-Wan show?
Not
all
yet.
of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm skipping that.
I'm super behind on everything Star Wars that has been released recently because
Yeah.
all of it requires you kind of know the movies, and Glitchy hasn't finished watching them yet.
Oh, okay.
I just don't watch them because most of them have been crap.
I kind of stopped with The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I watched the Rise of Skywalker just out of morbid curiosity, and the views on this podcast that I'm saying are my own. This isn't everyone. This is if you enjoyed those movies, totally fine. We can still be friends. It's fine. But I remember watching The Last Jedi, and there was a point in the movie where I almost just like got up and like walked out of there because I'm like, what even is this?
Oh wow!
But I didn't want to be like all like the huff. Oh, I'm out of here. This is whatever. I'll sit through this, and maybe it gets better and something like that. But pretty much at that
The
point,
Camino, or not Camino, the Casino Planet, whatever. The
Oh,
fuck
that
it's
was 8. Cannibal.
that was before that.
That was Last Jedi.
called. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, The Last Jedi is like kind of where they left me. And the reason why, and this is entirely why, it wasn't before you even get to the content of the movie. You know, I've been naming off books and things that I've read. I've been naming off comics, and up until that point, I was consuming a lot of Star Wars stuff, books, comics, and all this kind of stuff. But basically, in that movie, when it was over, they completely ignored everything that was in those books, and there was a lot of characters and a lot of stuff that was seemingly building up to something. And there were moments in that movie where they could have turned to any of those people, and there was people adjacent. Yeah, and there was people adjacent to those books. People that were in those books was in that movie. And that person could have been like, hey, I know someone, and they totally didn't do any of that. They completely ignored it for the sake of like Hollywood, you know, like let the director be free. And, you know, he didn't read any of those books, so he didn't think to put any of it. And Benicio del Toro's character was supposed to be Ezra. That was supposed to be Ezra. That bumbling Stubbs. That was supposed to be Ezra.
That's
Who?
Yes.
terrible.
Who?
Benicio del Toro's bumbling dude that they met in the Canto Bight jail.
No.
Who helped them escape.
No.
Yes.
Are you
That was
serious?
supposed- Go back and watch the scene
What?
from that movie. He has the 2 scars across his face, just like Ezra did when he disappeared.
What?
Oh my God.
That's supposed to be Ezra.
What?
But because they had already cast Benicio del Toro and Ryan Johnson came in and rewrote the whole thing, that was supposed to be Ezra Bridger.
Oh my god.
And I knew it. And the fact that they made him some bumbling idiot who just portrays them and takes the money and runs and then just disappears from Star Wars.
Oh my god.
At that point in the movie, I was like, I'm done. And then I also shouted out the Phasma book earlier, right? I love that book. It's great. It's Mad Max in the Star Wars universe. It explains where she gets her shiny suit, the background
yeah.
for that. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read it because it's awesome.
I know where she got it. Yeah.
It's really awesome, like that whole story. Then I'm like, okay, so that means they want to redeem Phasma in this movie, and they just kill her again. They just
Yeah.
wipe her right out there again. And I was like, if you guys don't care about this stuff, then why should I? And that was pretty much like when I
Yeah.
checked out from all of it.
I can
Yeah.
understand that. That's understandable.
So,
Yeah.
like I said,
Got
thoughts and
really
views are my
killed.
own. If you like it, you like it. We can still be friends. It's all good.
We do need to move on from Star Wars, and
Yeah.
I know.
we've been on
that's a whole
for
other thing.
This is not
this
Sorry.
Star Wars
Oh,
cast.
God.
Yeah, you got a bunch of nerds in a podcast, and you bring up Star
But,
Wars. It's gonna go on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been good.
I
It's
love
been
how
a
we
good
went from
discussion.
Tataru to this.
I wanted to. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Tataru lead
So what we're saying is Tataru is secretly a Sith Lord. Yes.
She is.
I don't know
Yeah.
when we'll have another Star Wars chance here, so I just want to say one last thing before we move on. I enjoyed episode 9. I did not enjoy episode 8 as much because of pacing issues. It felt really rushed. It felt like it followed like what have you seen oh god, what was it called? Transformers: The Last Night or something like that? Like the pacing was really weird in that movie. Like it
Yeah.
just kept going from like situation to situation to
It was
situation.
pacing in that movie.
Like really
Right.
weird.
Yeah, there was. I'm glad you bring that up because
Yeah.
there was a lot of editing
Yeah.
mistakes
Yeah.
and all kind of stuff.
Yeah,
in that movie.
exactly.
And I went to film school, so it was driving me nuts.
Oh, I
'cause
bet.
I've seen homework that turned out better
Oh
than
God.
that. It's
Man.
driving me crazy.
That's so funny. Did you hear they want to let Ryan Johnson back into Star Wars?
Well, he's been talking about his trilogy since that movie, so I've yet to see it
Yeah.
materialize. I think they know better.
But yeah, I'm gonna tell you why I enjoyed episode 9 real quick, because I like the whole thing where a story ends and everybody that was met along the way, or for the most part, like comes in at the end to like help. So sort of like like
The big damn
like
heroes
like
moment,
like
as it were.
like Dragon Ball with
Yes.
the Spirit Bomb. Give me your energy, everybody.
Yeah.
That kind of was good, but there was one thing I just wish they did better. Like I liked the return of Palpatine. I thought that was cool. He's like, to me, he's like one of the most craziest bad guys, but I just wish they would have included a little bit more in that final moment with Rey, and maybe like the voices of the old Jedis, and in the background would have been cool, or like seeing their ghosts all come together to like give her energy. That would have been really cool. But other than that, I don't know. The giant space battle was crazy, but it was kind of over the
That's-
top with all the planet killers.
That's the part I was touching on, because there were so many
Yeah.
more ships that should have been in that. Because if you read the books or the comics, there were so many characters that had stake in that had ships that were badass crews or whatever, And the only ship I saw for sure was I saw Lando's ship, but I don't know if he was there. Yeah, and I saw the Ghost from Rebels, but who was piloting it? Was it Hera? was it her and Kanan's son?
Right.
They didn't even bother to show any of that.
Yeah, it's like they just threw it in and be like, "Hey, look what we got." You know, that was it. That was basically it.
Like, did Hera die? Did the Ghost get blown up? You don't even know what happened.
But there's only
favorite
one
thing about that scene, just talking about ships that were there. There's actually a ship in that scene that could not be there.
Oh god.
Yeah, there was quite a few little boo-boos in there.
What was it?
So the Liberty is there. The Liberty is the cruiser that was destroyed by Death Star 2.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Maybe it was a replica or something.
So going back to my point,
very unique vessel.
An anniversary edition.
yeah. So going back to my point, like if they don't care, then I don't care. Like you're Star Wars and you missed that. We're here noticing that and picking that apart in a podcast. Random people. Like how did you not notice that?
Talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here for.
Yeah, but the editing in
We're
8 was
picking it
weird.
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Plus,
editing.
Why'd they throw in the kid with the broom at the end? Like if they're not going to do
Oh
anything
my
with
goodness!
it. Like,
You know what that was? That's to be like everybody's a Jedi. Even you. You could be a Jedi. You're a Jedi, and you're a Jedi because it's just bacteria in your veins, right? And anyway.
Yeah.
This is literally why when they make Star Trek movies, they have a guy on cast called Canon Checker.
Oh man.
Yeah, and a script supervisor is on every movie. Like that's the person that checks all
Hey,
these
I mean,
things.
one of them had Yoda in it.
Seagulls, stop it.
Yeah,
No.
and Yoda gave up just like Luke and fried the freaking books and just was like, "Fuck it, we're done."
Pissed with how like Yoda and Luke were handled. Like that's why.
Oh
like,
my
man.
gosh!
I still haven't watched
Yeah.
that.
Oh my
On
gosh.
principle.
And it was like a Force ghost of a really terrible puppet too. Like just make him CG.
Yeah, because they know that some people like the puppet and some people like the CG, so they do like this
Oh,
weird
But
middle
then
ground.
They did neither well. They did neither one of them well. It's a combination of both, and they both were not good together. Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started.
Oh my god, it's
Okay,
hilarious.
I think we need to
Okay,
stop
Yeah,
here.
we
okay,
need to
okay,
move on.
okay.
6.3.
So 6.3.
Yeah, Final Fantasy.
I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing, but it's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The new dungeon was good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Lapis
I think
Manolis, or Lapis
I think
Monolis,
they
or however
did
you say it.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with picking which one was going to be the boss and which one was going to be the trial.
Yes, absolutely, because the ones that are the trials for 6.2 Barbaria and Rubicante and 6.3 are these stronger archfiends than Cognazzo and
Well,
Scarmiglio.
it was 6.2 was Barbacia and Scarmiglio.
Yeah. So I'm saying Barbacia
You
is
said Rubicante.
no. I'm saying Rubicante
No.
in 6.3. So I was saying
6.3.
Barbaria in 6.2 and Rubicante in 6.3 are the two stronger archfiends, but the other two, Scarmiglio and Cognazzo, are the earlier ones you meet in 4 before you fight the stronger ones, and they're dungeon bosses. So it's like perfect, like you were saying. Yeah.
I really, really, really enjoy the new dungeon. I like the effects. I like how you start off on the moving vehicle.
Yeah, starting
I like
off
it.
on the
Yeah.
map. That was
Yeah,
good.
it's really
so
cool.
cool.
I love the first boss fight where you have to like look to the sides to see like where like the brushes are like rumbling so
Oh,
you can get
yeah.
out the way. So cool.
I was in VC with Misty when he was doing that for the first time, and was like, that was the most interesting mechanic in a dungeon.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I love the lore of going down in the caves and you see all the ceruleum, like the raw ceruleum everywhere. That was really cool.
Yep.
Like I really enjoyed the dungeon.
Yeah,
Although, man, when I was
right
doing the Mammoth part, I was getting Gears of War 2 vibes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I
Yeah.
feel you.
Yeah.
And Nora, what you saying about like best dungeon mechanic though? I don't know. I liked the top from a couple of dungeons ago.
Oh, Osdal's
Osdal's
Legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
that was
spinning.
good.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite random dungeon mechanic. But the new one's really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a good job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting to see the Reaper hideout as well as getting to see the Tower of Babel in the background. It does really show you the scope that, because like this is what's been on my mind for since Endwalker released. I got a lot of people who would come to me and be like, I'm kind of disappointed. Garlemald's small and everything. I'm like well, if you think about it, it is an empire. That an empire, the official definition of empire means having controlled other cities and that you're controlling, and nations that you've got governors positioned so technically Garlemald is much bigger. The capital city graphically, that's the
Yeah.
best they could do. You
Yeah,
know, maybe
that-
if we're like PS6,
No.
here, it'd be a lot more detailed, but that's the best they could do. And then going to
It's
Sorry
the
for holding
dungeon,
y'all back on the PS4.
yeah, go,
it's
yeah,
like they had set something in America and it was literally just Metro Washington.
pretty much, yeah.
Hmm.
And then of course there's the
Aw.
other side of the Tower of Babel as well. I'm sure there's more on that side, but even then, going to the new dungeon, it's actually showing you that region is much bigger, than we could imagine, and then you've got the fact that if you remember at the very end of Shadowbringers patch 5.5, I remember
Yeah.
them saying that something is going on in Garlemald, and they said they're building as if their lives depend on it, and they're putting all that stuff. Like the Tower of Babel didn't actually look like that prior to Endwalker. They were actually building it into that, so that thing that monstrosity that they created was built out of pieces and parts of everything they could find to create what they created in order to use the strength to get to the moon and all that. So what I'm interested in is seeing where we go from here, because if you know Final Fantasy IV, you'll know that there's also the Giant of Babel as well. And it makes me wonder, because that thing is still glowing. It's still a danger potentially. Some outside force could use it to go to the moon and do God knows what. So it's like, I wonder if something's going to happen, and maybe in the future trial that would be really insane, fighting the giant, or if maybe the tower will collapse and the giant will come out as something that the Garleans left behind, like the tower's really alive. Maybe the tower was there before Garlemald became an empire, because Emet-Selch is the one who found Garlemald as a town and turned it into that. And maybe he positioned it there on purpose because it had, more ancient origins. You never know. But
That sounds like something that asshole would do.
It could be
I'm a little
crazy.
suspicious, because here we are in the X.3 patch, and we're already through the 4 Fiends.
Yep. That's
Like,
a very
we've still
good.
got 2 major content patches coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good
We're
observation.
gonna fight Golbez, and then we're gonna fight X-Death.
Yeah, one of them is going to be
X-Death.
Golbez. We're pretty sure about that. We can be pretty sure about that. But what about the other one?
It's gonna be X-Death.
You think they're going to bring X-Death out of Omega?
Well, he
Yeah.
was technically just a manifestation simulation thing inside of
Yeah.
Omega's domain, but actually having
I mean,
actual
it
X-Death would be interesting.
It would be kind of unconventional to bring him back, but at the same time, like, that's the natural progression of this arc, though.
I mean, I know Yoshi said that 6.5 will give us an idea of what 7.0 will be, and of course we've got 2 land masses. We don't know which one we're going to go to, but it's looking like we're headed more towards Meracidia. Meracidia has a history with the Void, and the fact that the Allagans had made a pact with the Cloud of Darkness in order to release Voidkin onto Meracidia to help capture it. They had an alliance with them, and the reward for the Voidkin was supposed to be that they would inherit the bodies of the slain Meracidian soldiers in order to be free from the Void. They would have new bodies or something like that, and all that went wrong. Crystal Tower's energy backfired, and everything went crazy. So Meracidia is probably like, I'm imagining it. I'm imagining all this years to be full of a lot of bad things that were left behind there. And it's if we're dealing with the Void, I don't know if we're going to actually fix the 13th by 6.5, but fixing the 13th might actually take longer than that. It might be something we solve by the end of 7.0, because it's like they're introducing it now, but it's going to take more than just fighting for 4 Fiends and Golbez. I think there's a lot more to do with actually fixing the 13th. And the 13th, the state of the 13th, to me, seems like it's worse than the state of the first, because we're up in the air on like a floating castle, and everything below looks overrun with
trashed.
darkness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
it
I
just-
apologize, Misty, because this is technically, I guess, going into spoiler realm for you, and I guess maybe Reika as well.
Go for it.
Pay attention to the cutscenes after you finish the trial.
ooh, I can't wait for
Yes.
that. I can't wait.
There's something that happens that makes me really wonder. Like,
I know
just
where you're
drawing
going.
in parallel to what we learned from 6.0 MSQ,
Okay.
I'm suspicious.
I think I know what you're talking about here. And
Darn.
this next part I'm going to say isn't necessarily directly related to what Nora was just talking about. But as I was playing through it, Well, first of all, this is the patch where they kind of officially, maybe I didn't know this, maybe they talked about it before, but how Reapers are like a traditionally like Garlean
Yeah.
class or something like that. That was pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Makes sense why Xenos became one in Endwalker.
So that's actually funny that you mentioned that, because this was actually the first patch that I got some of the bonus storyline content because of having done the job quests. If you do the Reaper, if you level Reaper, you get that, and they make reference to it in MSQ.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's actually in MSQ. It's like, oh, I see you've trained to those arts. Where did you learn
that's
that?
right.
And you just don't even talk about it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I wasn't even a Reaper doing that cutscene, but I've leveled Reaper to 90. So.
I didn't even level it to 90 yet. I was just doing it on my machinist. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Whoa, okay. Yeah, I guess I did pick that up.
I have a good guess on the 6.5 boss. I think we're gonna think we're gonna fight Golbez in 6.4, and something is gonna go down with Zero that's going to cause her to, maybe it's something that Golbez does, and she's gonna be Zeromus. Yeah. And that's gonna be like a really epic final trial for Endwalker. Yeah.
As long as we can get her glam out of it.
Right.
Like, I don't know how she'll be Zeromus because she's not Zemus, but her name is still Zero, and that's still...
Yeah, they could work it out.
You want to know who brought that to my mind? Was Gracie. Gracie had that idea because Gracie loves Final Fantasy IV. Yeah.
I also have a strange feeling as I'm playing through this, and you mentioned 6.0 a minute ago.
Yeah.
Is it somehow going to be like, somehow the first is going to be able to fix the 13th somehow? Because they have an overabundance of light. So could you siphon some of that light?
Oh, that's an interesting
from the first
theory.
to the
That's
13th
an
and maybe balance it out.
Wow, I never thought of that.
That sounds like an Urianger level plot.
Yeah.
But as I've been playing through it, like the post-in-game, stuff, I've been thinking about the first. I'm like, well, the first has an overabundance. If you did the job quests on there, you kind of inadvertently kind of formed like your own scions, sort of. Like they don't show it, but you kind of, when you look at that group, you're like, you guys are like your own kind of scions over here. Maybe we put them in charge of things.
I got a tank, a healer, both kinds of DPS.
Does the
like
first...
maybe you work with them? Yeah.
Does it still have an overabundance of light though? Isn't it just like back to normal? And then
I thought it was.
Everything beyond the habitable zone is still a wasteland of light.
Yeah, besides that little patch that you and Reen fixed up.
Well, it's like the burn though. It's like the burn because it has no ether, but the ether is regrowing there now. So
yeah, you set up spoilers for old content. When you did all the Eden stuff, you set it up to start fixing it, but it's going to take time.
Oh yeah, it'll take millions of years probably.
Over the next couple hundred years, this place will become inhabitable again. And it's like, all right.
Yeah, so maybe you give it a boost by introducing some darkness to it? I don't know. I keep thinking that. Could be wrong.
Time travel?
I could feel it.
Crystal Tower?
It'd be a pain in the ass to do, though, because, like, look how much time it takes us to make, like, a single white aether site.
Yeah.
That's what I thought about tempering, too, but they're like, here's a flying pig. Now we fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, here's some dragon scales. That works. Let's go fight.
I have a
so
feeling...
it's like all these things that were like these big things for like 3 expansions. They're just like, here's a thing. All right.
Yeah, but at this point, we're like crazy powerful. I don't think we're crazy powerful enough to like purify an entire shard.
Nah, that's more like our 8.0 power level.
The first still has the crystal tower on it though, and so does us. So maybe I don't know. Well, that part of me is like, I know it's like a 5% chance, but I wouldn't be shocked. Like that's my outside little bet.
The crystal tower is helpful in Endwalker. It helped us go to Elpis. We were able to contact what's his name, Elidibus, who's like officially gone now. But
go talk to Lubeg or whatever.
Oh yeah, yep. And we did all that and got ourselves to Elpis. But what I'm a little bit more interested in than anything else on the I think the first is like got most of its spotlight that it needs, and it'll just kind of be like this resource from here on, kind of like what we were talking about with the crystalline mean and all that. But they've been putting focus on like hey, there's other shards, there's still 5 other ones to visit and issues of their own, and one of them is the 13th. 13th, and so we obviously know that that's going to be involved in something that we do.
Yeah.
I mean, Emmett himself said it. He said
our first patch
But-
after we finished MSQ, like vanilla MSQ, was like Newfound Adventure. So
Yeah.
like,
Right.
yeah,
right,
and
exactly.
Emmett did say like some of the other reflections will surprise you.
yeah.
So
They-
maybe there's one there that'll fix it.
I bet you
And
there's
he
going to be
also
some
referenced
really
a couple of different places we could go to.
really
Mhm.
crazy thing. Yeah. A lot of the some of the places he mentioned, we've now visited. We've already visited a few of them, and of course, if you look at the world map now, there's just like a ton of things. But here's the thing, though: the void still feels a lot worse off to me than the first. When we found the first, at least there was like an Eorzean-sized continent on the first, and that very much could still exist in the void somewhere. But what if the void is so far gone that it ends up just being like moot, pretty much? Like we can't save the void, and we realize we can't save it, and then it causes something really
It's gonna have to do a
end of the
rejoining.
world. Like we have another end of the world situation
if-
where the void's like fusing
we
into the
have
earth
to
or
cause a
something.
rejoining or something.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting twist. Where you
that'd be the
basically
way to
become the
go.
Asians.
We're the ones that, or we're trying, or we start to cause the other world, and we have to fix our mess by stopping it or something. And I don't know. There's going to be a reason at some point why the other shards are important to visit, and what the point is, because technically we just leave them there to whatever they're doing. They might not even be that bad. They might, or what if they discover a way to the source? What if there's like an evil force in one of them that discovers its way to the source to take over or something? So
You mean
there's
like
so
now?
much they could do. Yeah, technically in a way, yeah.
Or we go to, or we go to one that's just like, hey, we figured out absolute peace. Let's figure this shit out and rejoin.
You got that too.
We're stable as hell. Like,
Yeah, there's also the fact that you got to think of what content from other FFs they haven't pulled in yet, and then that gives you like a lot to think about as well.
And also, what content is adjacent? Because spoilers for Shadowbringers, but the
we don't have to
noir,
worry about Shadowbringers anymore.
the noir or whatever raids, like like that world exists parallel to the first.
Yep.
Or to the first. So I thought that was kind of cool how they did it. So like it doesn't exist in ours, but it exists parallel to these guys, which I thought was kind of cool.
And parallel, so it doesn't exactly exist in their world either. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're setting up like an omniverse. Like,
Yeah, like
It's not even
Yoko
just a multiverse, it's an omniverse.
and Yoko Taro is claiming a little too vociferously, if you ask me, that he's done with Nier.
No, he's not
I'm
done
like,
here.
no, there's no.
Not.
Square Enix
No.
will never let him be done with that.
No.
He's not done.
Plus, he doesn't seem. He seems a lot like Kojima to me, in that he just can't leave it alone.
I
Mhm.
think
He's
he
just
might
got
be
this
done with
urge to
quote,
continue.
Nier. I
What-
think he might be done with quote Nier, but like he's gonna set something else in the same universe. Sin of
Yeah.
Alice is the same thing.
Right.
Like he just
That's another thing
he
I
can
was
just
thinking you
roll
might.
off it.
Yeah, something
Because
kind of
there's so
spin
many
off.
alternate universes.
Well, there is a current
Like
Nier
Drakengard.
that's a current mobile
Drakengard
game.
leads into it.
Yeah, there is that mobile game.
Yeah.
I haven't played it.
I've played a
got
little
it
bit of it.
installed, but
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'll run on my phone.
Were you saying that like what part of the Nier 14 content were you saying was a parallel to the first?
Oh, like how that's the raid series for Shadowbringers, like those ships crash landed there on the first.
They
So,
crashed
like,
landed on the
this-
first, but you're saying they're from a parallel world?
Well, I mean, but like, that world exists in that same, because like when they say there's different shards.
Basically Earth exists in
Wait.
Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, but like parallel to like the first.
Oh,
'Cause-
okay. So you're saying
You know
the
what I mean?
world that the ship came from is
Mhm.
okay.
Is in that alternate universe where the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
is.
Do you know why though? Because of the seeds of chaos.
I don't even.
Okay, so you know the I think Osh knows. You know the orb thing that brought them there. That is a seed of chaos.
Okay.
The
Is
seed
that
of
something that's like through that game or through Square Enix games or?
Drakengard.
It started in Drakengard,
Yeah,
moved through to
it's-
Nier.
it's
moved
really
through to
crazy.
Nier Automata, like
So basically, like it's an orb that was left behind by like I think it was the Watchers, and I might be wrong on that. The Watchers are some kind of other force, and it can replicate like beings cloned into other universes. It's really really weird, or potentially even time. So it's possible that because there was no seed of destruction or seed of chaos in in Nier that because Nier is connected to Drakengard, that one of the Seeds of Chaos survived from the time of Drakengard all the way into the future, and then sent them all the way into the past.
Yeah.
So like
You're shaking my head.
That's what happens at the end of the canon ending for Drakengard.
Yeah, I mean, because if you follow the deep lore in FF and you look at the end of
the future and you get shot down by fighter planes.
Well, Final Fantasy overall is a story that predates the creation of Earth, and so if you finish the actual canon point, which is the end of Lightning Returns, it ends in France. It ends with lightning in France after the universe is created and the Earth is created based on the previous world, but without gods, monsters, and magic. So, therefore, you technically those androids just traveled really far back into the past.
Mm.
But anyway,
I got schooled.
Yoko Taro.
It's really crazy that they Yeah, but see, here's the thing too, though, is that the Nier is like one of several endings of Drakengard, but it looks like it's the one they like the most because they keep working on it. Did you see they acknowledged Drakengard in the new anime?
And then one ending of Nier.
I have not watched the Nier anime yet. I need to, but I have not watched it yet.
They actually
it's really slow.
They actually acknowledged Drakengard in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there is a spot where they're looking at a TV that's showing what's going on at the end of Drakengard.
The white.
There's a recording where
whatever.
there's a recording where it's like, back in the day, Tokyo was attacked by blah 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 blah.
It actually, it's really important in that universe. It's called like the white iris or
right,
something.
The white flower that started it all.
Yeah.
There's a manga too. There's a manga that's a prequel as well. It also talks about that flower and the origins it's just really crazy. It's a crazy story.
I have
anyway.
1, 2, Nier Automata. I have not played Drakengard 3.
Oh, you got to play Drakengard 3.
There's so much DLC for it.
Oh, well, forget the DLC. Just play the game. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Okay, because I heard the DLC is it's kind of like one of those Shura's Wrath situations where the DLC is the real ending.
Okay, well, play the game and then either look up the DLC or just get the DLC.
Yeah, it's a PS3 game, and it's also hella expensive to find.
Oh, really? I keep seeing them for like 30, 20, 30.
30 is hella expensive for me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, you know how RPGs go. Like there's you've got Fire Emblem on the GameCube for like $500 on eBay. So you get situations like that where it becomes nearly impossible to.
Copy of Path of Radiance.
Yeah. Okay, so
I'll probably sell some of my old Dreamcast shit.
Let me see here. We are at
more 6.3 stuff.
We're at an hour and 25 right now.
Jesus.
Machinists can throw wrenches again.
Yes, machinist buffs out of nowhere. I am here for it. I guess Yoshi P was actually listening. This is amazing. Finally. And we also have party utility again. What is this? They're no longer
the charge changes?
Ranged. Yes.
The charge changes give you more personal DPS. You got wrench, so you got more utility. Oh my god. Go machinist.
Yes.
I'm still weirded out by the paladin changes.
That didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, there's no difference really.
It broke my rotation plan.
Yes. I was gonna say I haven't played paladin since then. And I was really mad when I read the changes at first because I'm like, this is a whole shit ton of potency loss just all across the board.
I didn't get into the stats of it or anything like that. I just continued doing what I'm doing, and then it's like all I got to do now is just not post Goring Blade as much. So I literally logged into 6.3, went to fight a fighting dummy, and it was just sitting there, drinking my ranch and just working on the paladin.
Oh my god!
And it was it was no problem. I was just like, oh, it's there's hardly any change at all.
Yeah. That's why I felt it.
Once I get used to the way Goring Blade changed, I'll be okay. But that was part of my rotation back then,
Yeah, I know.
You had to you threw it every 30 seconds or something.
Well, the difference now
Yeah.
doesn't it just do all its damage at once now, pretty much?
Yeah. It's just straight up.
A lot of skills lost potency, and they kind of changed up your Confiteor combo.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
But I don't think it's a big deal because the potency changes. get balanced out by the other changes.
I think they just they wanted to put the Holy Circle and Holy Spirit moves. I think they wanted to like put a little bit more of an emphasis on them because there's a lot of people that don't use them at all.
Use them ever? Yeah.
Yeah, I do a large pull and then I do a Holy Circle like spam basically just to help AOE and everything. But
I'm looking at my moves right now. I did not know Circle of Scorn is a dot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Is it always a dot?
It's always been a dot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not know
That's
that.
the only dot we have now. We used to have Goring Blade, but now we don't.
Yeah, we used to have
Yeah,
Goring.
nobody's
Well, we
not
also
anymore.
used to have a strength down buff when you did Rage of Alone.
Oh, that's true.
There used to be a strength down
But-
buff.
Like,
Or
point being,
debuff, I mean.
like, they changed it, and it seemed really scary in the patch notes.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just saw all my potency going down, and all my combos changed, and I'm just like, whoa. But I
Yep.
don't think it's going to be that
It-
bad. in
it feels
execution.
good for
I haven't
me.
tried it yet, but most people, like Reika was saying, like most people who have tried it out say it's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. I didn't notice anything besides like having to refresh that Goring Blade dot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that,
and
it's,
actually,
it's
that's
the same.
less attention I have to pay. I don't have
Exactly.
to refresh Goring Blade. I just
Yeah,
have another cooldown.
Yeah, it took away something that you normally would be having to pay attention to in the middle of a fight. So
We
I don't
have
really mind it. It's the same.
Bulwark. We have Bulwark back.
Oh yes, we got
Yeah.
Bulwark back.
Mm-hmm.
We
And
are one of two classes who got back, or two jobs, I should say.
you know what's
that
funny?
got back old moves.
Sometimes I'd accidentally hit my my oath button and turn it off by accident. Now I'm hitting it more because when it's on, it now has a different symbol when it's on to turn it
Yeah.
off. So it's making
Yeah.
me hit it more because I keep thinking it's another button.
Yep.
Oh. I saw that change, and I wasn't sure how it was gonna work. I haven't paladin.
I need to
since
take it
the
off
patch.
my first bar. I need to put it on like another bar. But okay, so what do you guys think about Euphrosyne in general?
Oh my god.
Some interesting
So
mechanics.
good.
Dedicated to Moonlight, Minfina's song is my magical girl transformation anthem.
Yep.
It's really great.
Minfinia's like, I loved the Nalgal theme, but the Minfinia theme, oh my god.
Yeah, Minfina ends up being really cool. Her pet doggo, and
Yes.
Nafika with the scythe there, you know, and some other
With those
things.
big old mommy milkers.
Oh,
You said
my
it.
God. Y'all should have heard Glitchy when she first saw it. That's all I'm going to say on this podcast about that.
Guys, I didn't even have.
Again, the only reason I bring up mommy milkers is because a Gradanian swear is like Nofika's teats. Like Thal's balls is a swear for Ul'dah. Like,
Yep.
That's funny.
I didn't even have Bulwark on my bar. I didn't even know that was a thing.
But,
Oh,
well,
yeah,
it's
I
back
need to-
now, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
haven't-
I
it
just
was an
added
old
it.
skill. I need to get on my paladin and do that at some point.
is
Yeah, I didn't even-
does Limza have a saying like that? Did we ever figure that out?
I think
They-
Limza's entire dialect is.
Oh,
Dialect.
gotcha. Okay.
They're pirates.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's just-
We got some interesting mechanics. I like the part where the Altic fight, where like you go to let the what is it, the proximity thing, it pushes you, but then it speeds up the second time you do
Yeah.
it, and it's pretty neat. Just having the dual bosses in that one, the time mechanics. I felt like they were gonna do like a little bit more with the time mechanics, but I know for our raids went through real easy, like almost like a knife through butter. Like the first one, we had like one wipe to the Altic and Nemea fight, but we came back and did a second time, went right through.
A lot of that is.
Alone was scary at first.
Yes.
Give me just a second. A lot of that is due to some of our support community. Who
Definitely.
go out there and go hard on day one. To
Yeah.
figure out how
Oh,
to
yeah.
do this.
Not
and do
just day one, hour one.
Yeah.
Yeah, go straight into the raids right when they patch goes live.
Like bunch of people go out there and try to figure it out for us. And
But yeah, like early, 4:00 in the morning, going straight into the raid, and then it's like tired but taking notes, and then a bunch of folks show up later, and there's, like you said, Osh, real awesome individuals that go and try to learn the callouts as much as possible on day one. Week one, day one.
First instance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I blinded it through with a couple of FC members at like 3 a.m. right after the patch.
Oh, yeah, I remember you mentioning that. I logged in the morning, and you were talking about how you already had run it in the morning.
It is.
And I was like, "What time is it?"
It was not great. We died a lot of times, but we didn't. We never wiped.
Any other highlights for 6.3 outside of you foreseeing in the dungeon, the new dungeon, and the story for you guys?
The new trial is awesome. Everybody do the new trial.
Yes,
Yeah, the trial was pretty cool.
Speaking of that trial, I was actually pleasantly surprised to see the song was like Soken's rendition of this like Four Fiends like meme song that went viral years ago. That was a very pleasant surprise.
Actually, you know what's fun is seeing Zero's past.
Yeah.
Oh, that too. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, actually, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. You're getting a glimpse of like the void without it just being a void.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
if we're talking about that, then the fight where you are Zero was pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was fun. That was fun, especially because I haven't played much Reaper, so it kind of gave me a glimpse of it.
Well, you know that you have like a one target combo and a multi-target combo. And then
Well, yeah, it's not the complete rotation, but but yeah. So we got quite a bit in the beginning and towards the end here with 6.3. Real quick though, we're about an hour and a half in, so we should probably wrap up soon. But wanted to ask you guys, and we did have our randomness. We had our Star Wars,
Yep.
so
Yep.
Yes, that was definitely randomness.
that was definitely the randomness.
Easy it down a bit.
We had a Star Wars cast
Yeah.
there in the middle. But
literally 40 minutes about
yeah.
Star Wars.
But real quick,
Nice.
real quick. What one at a time? What were you guys playing? At least name us something that you're playing outside of 14.
When I'm not playing 14, I'm usually playing Vampire Survivors, usually on my Steam Deck. It controls a little bit more responsively with a regular controller on a console or on the PC, but something about playing it portably, like laying in bed or in a car or something like that's really cool. I played that actually on the airport, in the airport and on the plane, flying to and from Vegas. And when I'm not playing that, I've been picking at Persona 5. I'm still way at the beginning, but it's pretty cool so far, and I really like it.
Yeah.
It's like I knew I always would. Just happy it's finally out on PC.
Great game.
And
Yeah.
those
I need
are
to
the
get
3
back
games
into
I've been
that.
picking at. Or the 2 games outside of 14 I've been picking at. My backlog is
and,
ridiculous. So I'll get to it.
Oh yeah, backlogs.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
And
I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah, and I keep seeing they're about to release some more stuff for Stellaris, that they're going to update how the primitives work on there.
The first contact story.
Yes,
Yeah.
I saw that.
And I was just thinking and looking at it, and it's like, that's what this game needs, is more systems to keep track of, because they just keep throwing it on there.
Welcome
So,
to Paradox.
Please fix the government
Yeah.
AI. That's all I'm asking.
It is a Paradox game. I've got Stellaris. I just haven't tried it yet.
A can of worms. Complete
Yeah.
utter can of worms.
Yeah.
That's
console
probably why I
for
haven't
year.
tried it
Well,
yet, because I knew I'd be getting into
I
something.
mean, it's on console. I don't know how it plays on PlayStation, but I know it's there.
If you have a PC, avoid the. It's really cool that it's on console.
I have it
and
on
love
PC.
that how they're catching up. But if you have it on PC, play it on PC.
Yeah.
I got it on Steam, so I think I got it as part of like a Humble Bundle like a while back or something.
Yes.
All right.
So yeah, let us know if you ever do pick that up.
Is it an expansion coming out or
There's
store-
a new-
just
yeah,
a
there's the new story pack.
DLC.
It's a
coming
story
Oh,
pack.
okay.
Yeah.
what about you, Osh? What are you playing?
Honestly, I'm just really regretting buying a house in 14.
Why are you regretting it? Most people, that's like their dream.
I know, and that's why I'm regretting it.
Osh and
'cause-
Wag both just kind of randomly got their houses. They didn't really try for it.
You just like really
I-
wanted
I
it,
was
and then you
walking
just like you're like,
around-
I don't know if I want this.
I was in like voice chat, wandering around, looking at plots. I'm like, oh, this would be a really cool plot.
So you're like the
bid on
dog. You're like the dog who
hate
chases
you.
the car, and now you caught the car, and you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and I have no idea what to do with it.
Man,
They're like
What-
seven
what size is
people
it?
Sitting around like a barbecue pit in my basement, and that's just all my house is.
what size is it?
I got a small,
Oh, okay, you have like a
so I'm not super
you
mad.
got a small, and you're like, I don't know what to do with this. And then, meanwhile, there's like homeless adventurers like looking at
Me-
you
I
longingly
mean,
from the road.
That's me.
Pretty
Pretty much.
Trying.
Oh man,
I want to talk about it.
Poor adventurers
I
are just
bid
like,
on it. I bid on it drunk.
oh man.
Didn't mean to actually win it.
You drunkenly bought a house.
Yeah. As opposed to all these people who are like, I'm gonna stay up all night on Adderall. And
That sounds like the beginning of a movie.
Man.
A movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Literally
Some
called-
2000s movie.
Yeah, Zac
Oh my
Efron
gosh.
stars in Drunk House.
Yes.
Oh my goodness,
It's
It's
Osh.
called The Money Pit.
The Bachelor 3. We accidentally bought a house.
Yeah, they'll have Zac
Right.
Efron play you in the movie, Ash.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
The Azure over.
hmm
Yes.
But, yeah, no, our house. Womp womp.
Our
It's
house
a great lot
in
too.
the
That's the
middle of
worst
our
part.
street.
I was expecting
Basically,
you
and I, like,
to.
sneezed and confused and like accepted the. Cause I guess apparently you can deny buying the thing when you
Yeah,
win.
but then you lose the gill anyway.
But you just took it anyway.
Oh, you lose it anyway?
I'm pretty sure you
Yep.
still just lose the gill.
Oh, then I'm glad
Oh.
that I accepted it.
Yeah.
Because I was.
Definitely take it.
Man, why would anybody like deny it? Oh
Oh,
man,
I
no.
didn't want a house.
here have some gill. Like,
But now you have
What
a
a-
house. We insist.
here I was expecting you to like name an old school RPG or something, but yeah, it's House Regret Simulator 2023.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, Nora.
So I'm actually playing Minecraft a lot, and actually, Misty, you should be too. Glitchy
Yeah.
asked
Told you,
for
this weekend I'll get on the server.
Glitchy
You have a server?
asked-
More iron.
Yeah, Glitchy asked for a server offhand, and it was just like, hey, it would be cool if we had one.
Are you
About 4
playing
hours
Java
later,
or
we had
are
one. Java?
you playing
yeah.
Java?
Java.
Okay. Yo,
Java.
I want to play. I love me some Minecraft.
Hmm.
I haven't played seriously in like a long time because it's like it's kind of unrecognizable, and I actually test it for work. I would use it as a testing tool, and I mess
Oh,
around with
wow.
it. I don't even recognize a bunch of the new stuff in it. So, yeah, I'm always down to play some Minecraft, man. I love Minecraft.
Or if this keeps going, we're going to wind up building the FC house in your server.
Yes.
That'd be dope.
As you should. Why haven't you done it already?
I don't have anything blue yet.
I love building tree
blue.
houses. That's like my jam. I love building tree houses on there.
So right now I'm actually building a scale replica of the HMS Victory. So yeah, that
From-
is
Is this a creative or a survival?
Oh, wow.
survival.
Okay.
Hey, from
Wait, by the way, I forgot to ask this: which HMS Victor?
Lord Nelson,
Thank you.
the only HMS Victory. Let's
Yeah,
be
right.
honest here.
Let's be real.
what was
Excuse
the
you.
what's
Excuse you.
what's the ship again?
It's Lord Horatio Nelson's flagship at the Battle of Trafalgar.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see.
Yeah. Basically, Britain's biggest. Like, if you know the whole Rule Britannia thing, that's where that came from.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but I'm down.
Alright.
Any excuse to play
So
Minecraft,
been
especially survival.
getting down on
I'm
some
there.
Minecraft. Hey, what about you,
Yep.
Misty?
As I talked about earlier, Warcraft 3 Reforged, which has gone updated and actually fun to play.
Good to hear.
Which is good to hear. Yeah.
Stellaris.
You said you had some Stellaris stories.
Okay, so someone actually made a semi-working Honorverse mod for Stellaris.
Oh my god.
I've been
What's
messing
that?
with it.
Now, you say
Honorverse is
semi-working.
So it spawns the Undermani as despicable neutrals. And the
Oh.
Republic of Haven immediately goes into the Polis Wars. So it's really funny, actually. They never conquer San Martin.
Is this a book series?
So Honorverse is a massive book series. There's over 100 published books in it.
Okay.
The core series has 17 was the last book, Nora?
Something like that, yeah.
The Victory was 16 or 17. But the entire universe is massive, and it started with a single book and just exploded outward.
So the mod for this game, is it like a total conversion mod, like the Star
No,
Trek
it's
mod?
it's an origin that lets you spawn as the Sarkina Manticore.
Okay.
With all the connected empires attached to it.
I
Okay.
still need to try that mod.
And it actually creates the wormhole junctions correctly.
Huh.
Including
I
the
love
mason
when they do
wormhole
stuff.
junction.
I love when
Man.
they do stuff like that.
But so like the what's been really funny though is this mod obviously needs some polishing work. It doesn't work with all the new ethics things and the new expansion packs.
Okay.
So it's been really funny. Like as I said, the Endermani who are a conquest bloated empire in the stories are spawning as despicable neutrals.
Hmm.
And then meanwhile, Manpower Incorporated has not become slaving despots somehow.
Okay. So this is like an alternate universe kind of
It's
version
a
of them.
Cupid Ultimate Universe Honorverse story by accident.
So it's just kind of funny to see things turn out the way that they don't normally turn out.
On top of that, you also have just the random Stellaris species spawning as well.
Nice.
The default empires.
Some of the default empires, but also there's a mod pack out there for someone created this horrific devouring swarm species called literally just the Swarm.
Okay.
And somehow, no matter what I do, they always spawn in one of my games.
Yeah. Devouring swarms are fun if you're playing as one. But if you're in a galaxy with them, they're super annoying.
It's like
Yeah.
Zerg.
Yeah, basically just the Zerg.
No,
Or the bugs.
or the end crisis, the polygon, whatever they're
Yeah,
called.
they're basically the bugs from Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
Except for we picked that war.
Or the xenomorphs from Aliens.
Or the arachnids from Starfire.
Yep.
I want to see a movie where like aliens abduct a single guy, and it turns out that guy is a serial killer.
Oh my
and he
god.
kills all the aliens.
Have you never heard of Alien Fishbowl?
Oh my
No.
god.
It's so funny that you
Alien-
said that, Osh, because I saw something on Facebook that was like somebody saying that exact thing recently.
I just watched like Aliens today, and I'm like, but what if we were fucking them up?
So, Alien Fishbowl was a webcomic by Apocalypse Writers, which sadly has been taken off the web now. And the
Oh,
tagline of the comic is where strange people happen to weird things.
nice.
And one of the main plot lines is the Greys will abduct this dude who is insanely violent, and they're trying to figure out what makes him insanely violent, but it always ends with him dismembering the
Oh
abduction.
my god.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a Lobo plot. Like some. Didn't that kind of happen in the Superman cartoon where Superman and Lobo both get kidnapped and like
Yeah,
Superman
that
helps
happened.
Lobo escape just so Lobo can just like tear everything up?
I remember
Yep.
that. Yeah.
One of the other subplots in the comic, which is ridiculous, is there's a defective Grey who thinks they're a magical girl.
Nice.
And
Wow.
there's a great issue in the comic where one of the insectoids goes over to the Greys like, "What the fuck do you put in your clothing tank?"
Yeah, that sounds like a
Oh, my
Lobo
goodness.
plot.
It does sound like a Lobo plot, and there'd be space dolphins at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's so weird that like I saw something on Facebook of somebody talking about a serial killer human getting abducted by aliens, and then it just being bad for the aliens recently. I don't know where. It's driving me crazy now because I wanted to remember where I saw that at.
It does sound
I
familiar.
guarantee you it came from humanity. Fuck yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it might have been.
Yeah.
Also, I came across one of the best ever short stories on that forum.
Okay.
Have you guys ever read what's it called? Doctors Without Borders on Humanity. Fuck yeah.
No.
No.
It is literally one of the best stories ever to come out of that Reddit. The plot is that there's an alien federation which has been aware of humanity, and humanity comes from what they consider a death world. And they become increasingly more horrified of humanity the more we advance.
Oh
To the
yeah,
point where
yeah,
they've
yeah.
gone completely no contact as much as possible until we find them by accident. And now they're like, oh god, we're all gonna die. They're advanced, they got more powerful weaponry than us. And then the first real contact between them and humans is a bunch of doctors from Doctors Without Borders landing on one of their planets to help save people dying from plague.
Oh wow.
And the last line of it is the first contact between a human and alien with the line, "We're the Doctors Without Borders. We are here to help."
Interesting.
Kind of sounds like the inverse of there's a short story called The Path Less Taken. Have you guys read that?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's a short story. It's basically these aliens, they're pretty much primates. They discover intergalactic space travel like on accident. They discover like if you rub these two pieces of clay together in this certain contraption, you can go into like hyperspace. But like all the rest of their technology is like pretty primitive. Like their spaceships are primitive. Like they're just barely airtight, and they talk through like tubes in the walls, and they still have torches walking around on the ships to light everything. So they come to Earth, and because they think that we're primitive because we don't have spaceships, and they just get annihilated because we have guns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they come in.
In the
Yeah, so they come in thinking they're going to
battle,
conquer us. Yeah, they come in thinking they're going to conquer us because we're superior. We have space travel, and they're like, well, we have guns, and we pretty much just like wipe them out.
Yep.
Yep. So it sounds like the inverse of that.
Well, as for myself, I spent a lot of time working on 14 working, but in the middle of that, I actually have returned to my FF4 After Years profile that I never finished. So I've actually been finishing up Rydia's challenge dungeon and getting ready to move on to the next one.
That's a bit of a pain.
You know what's fun about those is After Years is not your normal Final Fantasy game. You basically got the characters from 4, and each one has their own individual story. So as you play the stories, eventually it does lead up to a certain point where you can use like any of them towards the end, as I read ahead in the guide out of curiosity. And but the thing is that as you play their stories, you do get a challenging you get a challenge dungeon if you meet Naming Way, the famous Humming Way, which is what they were called before they were called Laperites in 14. Naming Way basically decides that he wants to stop renaming people, and now he's going to become Challenging Way. And so Challenging Way gives you these like amazing challenge dungeons at the end of each character's story. And Rydia's is funny because guess what it's full of? It's full of demon walls. Tons of demon walls. Yeah. The reason that's funny is because we've had a lot of demon wall jokes in the FC lately, especially related to one particular event. And so I've been fighting a lot of demon walls, but doing multiple runs of it because the more you do it, there's a whole list of actual rewards you get each time you complete it. So each run of that gives some nice stuff, and then that goes towards what you have, I think, in endgame. But yeah, playing through After Years, it's a lot of fun. Really interesting that they actually added to the mechanics of 4 by creating like a full moon system. So depending on what shape the moon is, depends on what attacks or magic is more powerful. And then you've got these combo moves that the character can do with a friend that they meet on the journey. So like for example, Rydia's story, you've got Rydia plus another character that's with you. That's one of the dwarves, one of the daughters of the dwarves in Final Fantasy IV, and she's with you on there. And there's these things called bands. They're like these combo moves between them. Definitely different than 4, but they're fun to memorize. And
they're kind of like the cross attacks from Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, very similar, very similar. And
it also kind of sounds like the twins from that you fight at the battle in Stormblood. Those two bodyguards that like trade off with each other and do similar moves.
Yeah.
That reminded me so much of Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, like
it's
basically
like Masa and Mune, but it's not.
You'll have two, and you'll choose two that you want, and then they go together. They all, depending on which two characters and what move you're doing, will do a very special move. So, fighting the challenging boss or the challenging dungeons and the challenge bosses, challenge dungeons. Towards the end, there's actually like a super dungeon that's like extremely long. There's like 100 and something floors or something like that at the end. So I'm looking forward to that. And I don't know how or when I'll finish that because I'm like a no stoned unturned person in games. So. I'm sure that that's going to take me a while to be fully satisfied with that playthrough, but I've been playing that
every single second of every single match.
I can relate. I'm the same way.
And along with that, I've been doing another Final Fantasy V Game Boy Advance playthrough. So never finished all the extra content at the end when I was younger, so I wanted to go through and do that. But
the GBA version of 5 is really good.
Oh yeah, they're all really good. That's where they brought them, past beyond what they did on PS1. And then they were technically remastered. And then it was kind of hard to find a good version of 5 since. I mean, I actually don't think there is a better version of 5 or 6. I mean,
Yeah.
let's not get into the pixel remaster debate, but and then so I'm basically just duoing those handhelds, depending on what I feel like. But as far as console goes, I got back into my Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix playthrough. So I was going through the whole series a couple years ago, and I was streaming it, and that was in early 2019. So then after about summer 2019, I took a little bit of a break from streaming those. There was a lot of stuff going on in 14 at that time, so I kind of, there's always a lot of stuff going on in 14, but I took a break from doing that for a while because there was a couple of the in-between games I hadn't played, and since everything is all HD and nice and, super put together now, and they're all on, like, just a couple different discs, I was just going to go through, like, the whole franchise. So, yeah, Square Enix stuff. Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy.
Where are you at in 2?
Staple. Kingdom Hearts 2. I just got to World That Never Was, and I am getting ready to work on making the Ultimate Weapon.
Nice. Spoiler alert for people who haven't played Kingdom Hearts 2, which is a game that is forever old. You're about to fight Roxas.
Oh, I fought Roxas.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you already have Final Form?
Yeah, I fought. Final Form happens randomly after you fight Roxas.
You equip to become 1, and you will always transform into either.
Yeah, I have to become 1.
Anti-Sora or.
Yeah, I have to become 1, and it increases the chances of it going into final, greatly.
No, it's any time you transform, you'll either become Final Form or Anti-Form.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna level that up.
So save somewhere, roll out, transform. If you don't get Final Form, reload.
It has been a long time since I played through 2. I played through it when it came out back in the day. It was really funny because I was in line March 26, 2006 at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was in line outside GameStop. It was the first time I had actually waited like that for a game release. And the funny thing was, here in Sacramento, the shipment got delayed, and so everybody was groaning and having to wait extra long. And it wasn't until 10 o'clock, I think, a.m., which is still early in the morning, but it's waiting since 7 or 6 or 7, and there was all these people outside just just hanging out and talking about what our theories were for what was going to happen in the game. And
BHK.
Oh my God, BHK. Blonde-haired kid. Yeah, I remember all those theories and stuff, and that's so funny. You remember that because I was thinking that the other day when I was playing the game. I was like, I wonder if anybody remembers the BHK thing. Nobody knew his name.
No, Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite franchises ever.
Oh, I know. I know. It was something that I think Kingdom Hearts 1 was the reason why I got a PS2. In 2003 was when I got my PS2. So back then, when the shipment finally came, I was always super happy because I was at first in line and I got the first copy of the first shipment in my town.
Nice.
At that time. So it was awesome. I saved the receipt, put it inside the case. I still have it today. And but yeah, it's been a while since I played through and finished Kingdom Hearts 2, and so doing Final Mix is something I wanted to do forever. I always wanted to. Never bought a Japanese PS2, otherwise I would have. But those extra fights and everything. So I'm looking forward to finishing that up and actually playing the content that I never played before in the Final Mix version, and then moving on to the next one.
The data organization and Mushroom 13 and.
We'll get into fight, who from the Birth by Sleep game, so it's pretty cool.
That fight is the worst in that entire game.
I can't wait. What do you mean? What do you mean by the worst?
Lingering Will.
Oh,
Lingering Will is the absolute worst fight to figure out by yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something I haven't done yet. It's one of the rare things I have not done, so I'm happy that Final Mix is so accessible now. But
so stuck when you were talking about the Demon Wall, because I got Google in roulettes the other day, and we did it like flawlessly, and we all had to laugh. Like remember this boss used to kick our ass? Like yeah, like we just did it in like 30 seconds. Like that's hilarious. We all had to laugh about it.
Tries to clap its cheeks. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, like none of us got hit. We all timed it. Everybody just like a machine through it. And I had to point out, like, you remember that a boss used to like kick your ass, and everybody was like, "Yup." Like, and we just did it in like a minute. Like that's funny. I had to point that out.
That's funny.
Yep.
You know, fun fact about demon moles. Did you know they're a lot of people think they're voidkin, and they're in fact forgekin because they were actually created in Amdapor a long time ago for like protection.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. Fun fact.
Nice.
That one in the library that actually guts out of the wall, that's a first. That's pretty it's pretty funny. Speaking of which, I remember when we got into Pandemonium and we saw the big scary carbuncle.
Yeah.
And folks were saying like that's the scariest carbuncle and the most buff carbuncle in the series. I didn't even realize that recently when I got carbuncle in Final Fantasy V that when you summon him, it's like a cute carbuncle, but the one you fight in Extheth Castle is just as like big and ripped as the one in Pandemonium.
Yeah, but it's not as.
It doesn't have crystals going through its shoulders, but
it's as big for sure.
Yeah.
It's less cute.
Yep, but other than that, that is our podcast for this week and episode 13. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you all for joining us tonight here, our hosts, and look forward to the next one in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
And hope everyone stays safe and have a good time out there.
Yep.
See you in FC chat.
Choo-choo.
Y'all later.
Later.